Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes. First, we need to go back a week and a half for the minutes of February 10th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion carries. We have a motion and a second for February 10th. I will abstain.
I'll abstain.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now we need approval for the minutes from February 18th, last Tuesday.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
You abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, item number 1, fiscal year 26 elected official salaries and compensation. The first on the list is sheriff. The ask is 10%, which is $11,902 for the sheriff and $10,117 for chief deputy. The sheriff's current salary is $119,027. So open up for comments or discussion? Or Sheriff, do you have anything you would like to say?
No, I think I presented it all pretty well when I did my budget meeting earlier. How I got to that figure. Actually, question about that, no.
Are we gonna do each elected office separately?
Because we don't have a comp board where we have to decide each one this year. So I think we all received a copy of neighboring counties and 5 up and 5 below in population.
3 up and 7 below.
That's what you provided. Yes, and we did 5 up, or I did 5 up, 5 down. And the average of,
Contiguous counties is 105, 595, 83.
correct. And then 5 up, 5 down in population is 123, 763. So the average between those two is 114, 679, if we do the surrounding counties and by population. And the current salary is 119,027.
The average is 123,763 on the population, right?
Yep, and 105 on neighboring.
And you say between the two, it averages 114.
114, 679. And he's already right now at 119,027.
I don't think it's really fair to add neighboring counties into this. I mean, we're a lot bigger in population than all of them. And we've got Otterson County with a population of 5,000.
It's always, I'm not saying if it's right or wrong, it's just always been using it for all salaries. Neighboring counties. Well, like for the deputies, I think we used the neighboring counties.
We looked at them, yeah.
Yeah. So it's, this is a board decision.
Well, and I will say that with this comparable, one of the things that I throw out is Washington County. Anytime I see them in there, because they're way high. For years, they had people that were kind of drunken sailors at one time. So I disregard those. So that will bring that average of the population down by more yet. Because if you look at any of their salaries, they're way out of the ballpark.
And again, these are cost of living adjustment raises. And the cost of living figure that the current cost of living is 2.5%.
You know, I think every year this is the most complicated and hard decision for the supervisors because we all know that this is your livelihood and we respect that. And I do feel we have good employees and elected officials throughout Carroll County. But we're also challenged with the fact that we want to represent the taxpayers as much as possible as well. An elected position is not a position you take to get rich. It is to give back to your community. It is to serve your community and make sure you make a decent living. And that's how I feel. We need to take a look at all these budget requests. If, you know, if you want to get rich, I probably suggest going out into the private sector. And I think you're going to see budget cuts throughout the state. I think you're going to see it across the nation. And I think you're going to see a lot of things tightened. So with that said, I hope this board can come to an agreement. I understand, you know, we have to negotiate between the 5 of us. But I hope we come up with a reasonable amount going forward for every elected position, non-union and hourly wages.
And I think one thing we keep forgetting that a couple of years ago, we did give some pretty good healthy raises. The healthiest ones that I've seen in my career here in the county.
You know, I think I'm a pretty good steward of the taxpayer dollars. You know, we house prisoners that we don't have to. We don't have to do that. I could call Polk County today and say, come get them. I could tell Calhoun County, we're done. We're not gonna do it. Why make our life tougher if we don't have to? Because of the taxpayer, I do that. We do our own custodial work over there. We don't have to do that. We can hire somebody. Have Zach do it, but we do it ourselves. So I say I'm a pretty good steward of the tax dollars.
I agree with you, Ken, 100% that you run a pretty tight financial deal over there, but I think that at a 10% raise, right now on neighboring counties, you're above everybody. And you will be well above the average on all population counties at a 10% raise. For me, I don't see that in my eyes. The Carroll, right now you're at $119,027. The average is $105,000 on all neighboring counties.
Okay.
And
I
on,
hate to say this, but don't look at neighboring counties. It's comparing apples to oranges.
it kind of is, I mean, but so supervisors, should we get 150,000 then? Or should we just go to Des Moines to do it? You know what I mean?
I can't tell you that. All I know is I do my best to save the taxpayers' money,
And I agree with that.
and I've been doing this for a long time.
And you do a good job.
And if you look at the sheet I gave you guys earlier, I mean, and how did we get by with less personnel than every other county by a lot? I mean, in a lot of cases, we're 4 deputies less than a lot of the population counties I included in my. Even those that are below it, see population. And we don't have turnover, and turnover is expensive.
I think you do a great job too, Ken. Same thing as Mike was saying, not below you, but taxpayers are watching what we're doing right now, spending money. So we've got to be very careful of what we do on some of this, on this stuff. But no, I think you do a fantastic job.
Well, I think you do a good job also, but I think we're gonna probably have to look at more stuff, even besides wages anymore in the future. maybe we're gonna have to start looking at running cars longer and a lot of different things. Office expenses, where the offices are located, and I think we're looking at some times where things could be changing a lot. I'm really concerned right now at this point in time. I do think, we do have to watch out for taxpayers because I think we're gonna have taxpayers out there that are gonna be suffering drastically. Even with the 2.5% cost of living, I think there's gonna be some things come up that we're gonna be really struggling. Everybody is. And I think we need to be very cognizant of the taxpayers this year because they're probably gonna need that in their own budgets too this year. I do think that, the request that you had is extravagant. I know originally the board all put out a 2.5%. And then,
Which we got from the federal government.
which we
that
got from the
wasn't-
federal government, that's cost of living.
That's nationwide.
And it's just, we did our comparables. It depends upon, comparables are, any comparable you use, there's not apples and oranges. So you have to read through them too. Like I said, I throw out Washington every time I see Washington County in there. And some of these jobs, not just like yours, but there's other jobs that, they have other duties besides that. And the other problem I have is that and I guess I come from the old school. When you had a job, you did what you were asked. Nowadays, everybody seems they want more for everything they do. And it's not, you can't add on to the job descriptions. And that's not what we're here today to do. We're here to present cost of living raises.
Well, I've seen the board over the years use COLA when it benefits them, and if it's higher, going lower than COLA.
I don't know that we've ever went below COLA.
Disagree with that, I think.
You could disagree from my perspective, Sheriff Pingree, because I have opted to freeze. So from me, and that would be, I know in the past, I actually pulled up the last 7 years of things that I've agreed to and disagreed with. So I know from my perspective, I have gone below COLA. And to back that up a little bit, I wasn't pointing at you saying you're not conservative with the taxpayer dollars. It is all together. When we have to look at salaries, we have to be conservative. So that wasn't a direct quote towards you. This isn't a fun job, and I know we have a lot of the elected officials in the room right now. And
Start with me.
Well, that wasn't the way we were supposed to do it, but so I have the history of the last 4 years since I've been on the board. In fiscal 2021, the sheriff and attorney got 3.57. Fiscal 122, the sheriff 3%. Fiscal 23, the sheriff 15.12. Fiscal 24, 7.31. Last year was 3.2 across the board. So that's the history of the last 5 years of elected officials. So I don't know if any of those have been below COLA. I don't think they have been below COLA.
One thing to look at also, we're not giving a insurance increase this year either, so. It's not like your raises aren't gonna be. What I'm trying to say, to take care of the insurance rates, it's gonna be a true raise versus having to not supplement your health insurance, because we're not raising our health insurance this year, so.
I mean, no,
Well, in essence, they're actually getting almost a 0.75% increase in their wages because we're not gonna pass that on. That's been agreed by this board already.
and again, these are cost of living adjustments. We're not rewriting job descriptions. These are, cost of living. So I guess I'm looking for a motion for the sheriff's salary. Then next will be treasurer, recorder, auditor, county attorney.
Make a motion on what's asked, or do you make a motion on something you think?
You
Something
would
that
make
the
a motion
board-
that you would feel is a adequate percentage. Somebody seconds it, then it goes into for discussion. If not all, we may end up potentially doing roll call.
I took the average on the population, which is 123,000. And if you put 2.5% of that is 126, if they got that this year. So he's looking at, we would be around between $7,000 and $8,000 lower than average. That would be a 6% increase on the salary. In my eyes is fair when it comes to the population averages. Once again, we were way above on neighboring counties. Just my simple math on there.
Is that your motion 2.5?
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying on, it's a roughly a 6.5% less on average on the population size.
So what figure are you using, Mike? The raise
Off this sheet, I think.
off this one here?
So what percent were you using?
6%. I'd make a motion to give the sheriff a 6% raise. Which would bring it 71 to 4162.
What's that come out to, Mike? One,
I think it's 71. Hold on a second, 42, if I did my math right. 71, 41, 62. Which would be right in line with the average of all population cities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I
10.
went 5 above, 5 below.
Yeah, so we got 11 of 11 counties. It'd be an average with, if they got a 2.5% raise this year.
So you're saying the 123 is your base plus 2.5%?
No, I'm saying 119,000,
Okay.
6% raise on that. If that is the current pay, is
$7,141.
Yes.
and 62 cents, correct? That's my motion.
There's a second. Motion fails. There's another motion.
First one's always tough, ain't it? I'll make a motion because I think what the consensus is of the majority of the board is that and what we started with originally was 2.5%. So that would bring him to 122,002, which would bring him up to, if you take Washington out, or I think it would come fairly close. So I'll make a 2.5% motion. Whether it works or not, I don't know.
There's a motion or a second. I'll second 2.5. So we have a motion and a second on the cost of living rate on top of the $119,027 for the sheriff's salary. Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
We're
Aye.
gonna do roll call or
We can do roll call.
Anderson,
No,
Houseman,
no?
Johnson.
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
McCray.
No,
Motion died.
I think it needs to be lower than 2.5. Like I said, there's a lot of extra things on top of that. I know 6 is right, we need to be 4 to 5, that's just me.
We will entertain any motions.
I motion 5% raise.
There's a second.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please, Courtney. 5%.
Anderson,
Yes.
Osman,
No,
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes,
McCray.
Yes,
Motion
Motion
carries.
carries. Thank you. Thank you. B, treasurer. Ask is 9% or $7,435. This could affect 4 deputies. We haven't got there yet. The treasurer current salary is $82,315.
And actually, in the proposed budget that I sent,
Hang on,
9%.
Say what?
Actually, in the proposed budget that I presented, we took 1 deputy down to an hourly in that proposed budget that I sent.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yes, that's why we're doing these in the order because of the complications that come down the road with yours.
But this might reflect also why. Okay, so finish on.
You got Mike, the ask is 9% or 7,435. You see where we are?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the current salary is $82,815.
A lot of paperwork.
There is. Well, I was hoping this cheat sheet would help. Lisa, would you like an explanation or do you just want the board to discuss? And
Well, if you disagree with the 9%, then we can just discuss. If you agree with the 9%, then we can go on to the next person.
well, again, if we go by neighboring counties and if we go by population, you are right on target with your current salary.
I do have one comment about the neighboring counties.
Okay.
If you compare the percentage of what the elected officials make compared to each other, I'm lower than what the others are. So for example, if you do by population, 5 above, 5 below, and actually if you go through the whole state, the treasurer's salary is almost always 98 or 96% of the auditor. I'm at 92%. The last time the treasurer was at 92% was back in the 1980s. If you go back to the history report.
Yep, we got that.
Reflected back to the high raises. Gene, you made the comment of high raises a few years ago. I was second to last of the high raises of that group. I got 6.48 and the highest was 15.12. So if you want to do comparisons, there's another way to look at the comparisons. I'm, like I said, 92% of the salary versus the other ones are at 96 and 98% of the salaries. And like you agree, Steph, we're not here to make money. I've been here for 30 some years. Obviously, if I was going to be rich, I wouldn't have been here for 30 some years.
But I think right now we're trying to, or what I read off was not treasurer versus auditor. It was treasurer versus other treasurers in 15 counties.
Right. And like I said, when I went through and did the percentages of the 5 above, 5 below for the by population.
Yep.
That's how I came up with the 96, 98 percentages.
I'm confused.
I'm sorry.
get this sheet
I think she's trying to compare
to the auditors.
to a different office. Instead of comparing herself to her peers across the state, she's comparing it to the auditor, I believe.
Well, and it's like all of the treasurers through the state, their salaries are 96 to 98% of the other elected like, for example, auditor. Our offices do completely different jobs where there's no apples and there's apples and, you can't compare the jobs, but the salaries are within line of each other. And up until 3 years ago, we were at that 98%, 96%. And now I've fallen way back to 92%. I'm just asking to try to get back up to that percentage.
Lisa, how many other people in the counties are 4 or 5 staff? Compared to your staff, are they about the same?
All about the same.
Okay,
There is counties that don't do driver's license.
Okay, no, I'm
Yeah.
just wondering how many they supervise or whatever compared to what.
And then one more question. Do the other counties, do they work 40 hours?
I'm not sure about that.
Does anybody know that? Are they 40 hours or 37 and a half?
Majority of them were 37.5.
Okay, so that's kind of a standard then. Okay, thank you. Because when we do, if we were to figure the hourly rate, we need to make sure that we're not dividing it by 2080. It's 1950.
Sure.
So again, I'll go back to the treasurer. The ask is 9%,
Correct.
$7,435.
Oh. Sorry about that.
And her current salary is 82,815, which is very much in line with the counties in population, and it is above neighboring counties. Motions. Again, this could affect 4 deputies or maybe 3 when we get later in the agenda.
Only thing I'll say, clearly not liked in this room right now, which is fine. I don't like comparing the offices upstairs.
And I wasn't comparing the offices. I was
Just,
comparing-
I'm gonna make that statement for anybody that's. in
And
this
I,
room.
my comment to you was not to you. I'm just saying.
No, it's fine. I'm a
Obviously,
big girl.
no, I'm just saying, I obviously am here because I enjoy working for the
Oh, I know.
county.
Lisa, and you're phenomenal. Everybody in this room are great workers,
No,
but I also, at the end of the day, am looking at dollar signs. And trust me, you guys don't want me making the motion. You guys won't like my motion.
Yeah,
That's
and-
why I'm sitting back.
And that's why when you said to ask us to give you the numbers to say why we're
Mhm.
doing, that's what I
Nope.
trying to present.
And I greatly appreciate the efforts that some of the comparables were accurate, some were falsified a little bit, some were padded a little bit. But I will have to say the Board of Supervisors this year, not having the compensation board, has done a phenomenal job gathering information, doing the work. And I know it's a hard job. It's a hard job sitting here because this is your livelihood and we don't want you guys to take this as a personal. This is about the position and about the end of the day, tax dollars and levies. And I know these guys knew going into this, I would not be liked at this meeting and that's okay.
Still looking for a motion.
In my eyes, for the treasurer, we are 10,000 over neighboring counties. We are $400 over the average of the population. I feel that a 2.5% raise is, I'll make a motion to do 2.5% raise.
Okay, we have a motion for the standard cost of living, 2.5% for the treasurer's office. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion, Lisa, or any amongst the board members? Roll call, please, Courtney.
Anderson,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners, McCray.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carried. Item number C, recorder. The ask is 15% or $11,981. This could affect 1 deputy. The current salary is $79,877. Good morning, Ashton.
Good morning.
And I did get a letter of support, I believe you would call it, from you, and I did forward that to the board
Oh, thank you.
from a client or customer of yours.
Okay, thank you.
So if you would like to address anything, or we can go to board discussion.
I feel I presented my stuff well at the budget. And my thoughts on that have not changed, just showing the map across the state. 70% of the elected officials are paid the same. That is the majority. When there is a gap, the average is more 1,500. We are the largest gap in the state at 9,400.
What do you mean gap? Just explain it to everybody.
Between
this goddamn sheet, which I'm getting about tired of
Yeah.
hearing
That's
about.
what, but I think everybody needs to understand what
Yep.
she's talking
And I
about.
know there are different duties. The recorder's office has 13 pages of Iowa code we follow, and the auditor has 7, and the treasurer has 9. So I don't know that anybody is quite certain what each office does until you work in there. And I have a part-timer who's come in, and I think her eyes have been open to the amount of stuff we do. I run a very small, very tight office. Proud of that. I know I don't follow the handbook, but I use it as a guideline for time off. I threw away 6 days of comp time last time and 6 days of vacation because I did not have staff to take that time off. I mean, I just want to be equally represented and respected like the other electeds.
And I think I sent you this, correct? The
just
neighboring
re-
counties and the 5 up, 5 down.
You did, yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna agree with Ken that it's hard to compare surrounding counties because our populations are not the same. Population would be a better comparable if you want to do that. I did send other comparables
Yep.
as far as similar jobs as well.
I'm looking, the other one we got by population here, and I think a 2.5 would bring you right within average of those, other counties with a 81. That's just doing the math.
You know, I think the board has done away with the comp board. And I know for a fact that I think we've done more, spent more time doing stuff this year than we ever had. This is just my comparisons here. And you know, it's not an easy job. You know, again, we got to look at taxpayers' dollars. And
And then I guess I do want to make one more comment, and I don't mean to interrupt. I apologize for that, but you don't have to compare these offices to these offices, but we do very similar but different jobs. So whether you want to compare them or not, that's fine. However, the gap in our county being the largest in the state has gotten so large that I'm more comparable to deputies than I am to an elected. And I think that is just unfair. They don't have to put their name on the line every 4 years. When their deputy quits, they don't become an extra. When I'm sick and my deputy has to be sick, they don't come in that night. It's on my shoulders. A deputy has a lot less weight on their shoulders. And that's no disrespect to anyone's deputy. But I'm being more prepared to, I should have stayed where I was at. I would be making just the same and not have all the extra weight on my shoulders. Our gap has gotten so big that I'm making more comparable to the deputies in the courthouse than I am to the other elected. And I think that's just, that alone, numbers don't lie right there.
I'm looking at comparables, though, so why do we do comparables if we're gonna compare to the deputies upstairs? I'm comparing to the other recorders here, Ashton, that's my
Yeah.
point, we always want to.
Well, that's what, if you look, I think if you look, and I don't have it in front of me, the population. I do, again, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't mean to misspeak, but the auditor and treasurer are above, and I'm pretty sure I'm below.
Nope, I get it. I
So
understand.
there's
I do
still a gap
understand all
there.
that.
When you
Yep,
look at it that way, I'm still low.
I do,
Well, however you look at it, I'm low.
yeah, no, I get it.
I hear the comparables to the auditor all the time. And again, that position's open every 4 years, where anybody can apply for it.
I will remember that.
I had a thought here and I lost it.
Sorry, Gene.
No, it wasn't a very nice one either.
I just don't think 15% we could do that with no disrespect to you at all, Ashton, it's not. But that's a lot of money our taxpayers are gonna see and say, what the heck's going on here? So.
In by this that we have from fiscal year 77 all the way to fiscal year 25, right? You
Yep,
have the-
yep, we get that.
And our, the recorder's percentage of auditor was 90% in 77, and it's 89% now, right? Correct on that? Reading that right?
I think so.
It dipped down in the 80s quite a bit, but it's been right around that 90% since
Yeah, it's been
from
lower than that.
2004. It's been one way or another percentage since 2004. And so I don't know what I know the
I know, but
dollar amount's difference, but the percentage hasn't changed.
and
If
that's,
you do the
I'd be
math.
curious to look at that closer because I know when I first started, there was a $5,000 difference and in that 1 year. So, I think you guys were talking to the sheriff. They said that he had gotten a big raise. Certain people did get big raises that year, but other people did not.
Yeah, well,
So, and I don't, so that's why I'm not sure where that's off because when I started, it was at 5 and now it's at almost 10.
But to me, I don't know that we need to be comparing
I-
to the auditor with different duties. I think that
Well,
we need to be compared with other
And
like
that's-
positions.
And in that regard, I would welcome you guys to sit with us anytime to see what we do. I know, and you guys do have a great familiarity with the auditor. As the board secretary, that's her job, but please come sit with me anytime. Nobody does.
We've talked about
So-
it twice.
so I was just making that point that it hasn't changed since 1977. The percentage of, the number is gonna change, obviously, the dollar amount, but the percentage has not.
And just because it's always been that way doesn't mean it's right, because I believe,
That's fine, but
You know-
in my eyes, I'm worried about paying you what you're worth with an average of other recorders in the state. I don't care about the auditor or treasurer right now. I don't. I'm sorry to say that. And
that's fine.
there's, like Scott said, if you want to run for that, that's great. I mean, that's just like, we can't compare to the sheriff, or.
And you can
you know.
compare it to those recorders, but 70% are paid the same. So somewhere something's off still, because 70% of the state recorders are paid the same as the other elected officials.
And you
So
can't,
somewhere something's not matching up, and I don't have that answer, but when you look at, if you're like, okay, I'm gonna compare to recorders across the state, well, 70% of them are paid the same as the other elected. That's the majority.
and you
you wanna
can't
compare
compare
that
all
way.
across the state because there's 2 counties that have eliminated the recorder's office now.
And if you talk to them, it's the worst decision they've made.
Well, that may be possible, but I know that discussion has been brought up here once before.
It's home rule.
So in your eyes, you want to compare your job to what? The auditors, the pay amount? of The auditor?
Well,
I'm
It's
confused.
whether, however you want to look at our in the code, or if you want to look at 70% being, however you want to look at it.
what I'm getting out of this is, some of these deputies are making about what she makes. Maybe that's something we need to look at too. I don't know. Just a thought. I get it. You're.
Well, and I think
you're
if
making-
you
there's
look
deputies
at those
making about what you made.
deputies,
I do get that part of it.
I
So-
think if you
each
look at those
office
deputies have paid their dues. They've been here for 20 some
And I've been
plus
here
years.
for 14 years, so what point am I not new anymore?
Well, I know, but there's always a
Each
difference.
know-
office has different disciplines, how they
Yep.
perform
Yes.
those disciplines.
It's,
That's just what I'm looking
you're,
It'd be like- We
we
can't
can-
throw
we
the
can- we
sheriff in the mix, even though he's next door, because the sheriff's duties are different than the
Right.
recorders
No.
or the auditors.
I get it.
we can
Yes.
pick a lot of different
In this
comparables
building,
to
they're
make
on
it
the
work
same
the way we
floor.
want.
So I'll go back and repeat. Recorder ask is 15% or $11,981. It could affect one deputy. The current salary is $79,877. I think we've had a lot of discussion. I think it's time for a motion.
I'd do some math, yeah. Someone could.
My motion won't pass, so I'm not even gonna make it.
Well, because we give the treasurer 2.5, I'll make a motion that we go 2.5 there.
Which is not a slap in the face. That's cost of living.
It's not, but one person's 2.5 is different than another person's
It
2.5. So I would like to get away from percentages if that's possible, or
There has been discussion of 2.5 across the entire county and let each department head or elected official decide how they want to divvy it up. And it doesn't appear we're going that direction yet this year, but
May not be percentages, could be lump sums too.
Yep.
Per department.
dollar amount. So there's a motion for 2.5%. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There is a motion and a second for 2.5% for the treasurer or for the recorder whose current salary is $79,877. Any more discussion? Courtney, roll call, please.
Anderson.
No.
Houseman.
No.
Johnson.
Yes.
Miners.
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
and motion carries.
Item D, auditor. Ask is 4% or $3,583. This will affect two deputies. We can do the salary first. And her current salary is $89,586. And then secondly, we need to do a stipend. Following. So Courtney, would you like to
Can I
speak on
Can I clarify a few things?
Yep.
Okay, so, she mentioned that the gap percent, I think I gave you guys some doc. 40.
Mhm.
I
Actually, I was trying to find that email.
just wanted to clarify that. And I'd also like
the
to
gap, you
mention,
mean, as far as counties where they're equal?
well, yeah, we talked a lot about the gap
You
just
mean
a
between
minute
all
ago.
counties?
It's not 70%. It's just what I wanted to say.
You're saying 70% of them do not pay the same.
They do not. I gave you guys that information last week, I believe. And I'd also like to mention that the gap is the same now that it was when the current recorder ran for the office. So it hasn't gotten bigger. It's been the same. And I'm not here to say it needs to be different. If you guys feel it needs to be closer, that's fine. I'm just saying it hasn't grown. It's been the same. And I also have one less person than I did back then. So I question. And we've been doing, we've saved approximately three. Last, how did I have it? It's from 2000. Choosing to. Average staff size is between 4 and 3. We have 2. So you can also see that several counties have receive a stipend for my budget duties. But there's a lot of them that have them and they make significant money. There's several of them. So I did give you guys the comparables so you can see salary. Salary is on the high end for the county comparables. I don't deny that, but I think it's important to look at staff size as well. The average is between 4 and 3.5 people, where we have 2. Also, I use some comparables. Since we don't have a comp board anymore, it says you can use local city school positions as well. So I did that and used the Carroll School, Glidden School, their board secretaries, and then the city of Manning, the city of Carroll, the city of Glidden, and the city of Coon Rapids. So their average salaries, and I'm figuring a moderate 2% raise for this upcoming year, is $103,000 for those positions. And I talked last time about how many meetings they're required to have, et cetera. So that's where, when I used the 4%, I increased my stipend by $1,500 and used a 4% salary to come up with $98,170, which is still almost $5,000 less than the average. So that's where I was coming with the 4%.
Which is still how much less than average?
It's about $4,906. And I'm not saying those positions are all going to get a 2% raise. They could get more than that. Those jobs have a lot of similarities to mine where they are preparing the budget, financials. They handle, they're the clerks to the boards. So some similarities there. Obviously, we do other different things than they do, but no, so those are my comparables. Does anybody have questions on those?
No,
Oh, and I
Courtney?
guess I wanted to point out also that I was able to look at my budget and go over it, and my ask is not any more money. My funding for expenses stays level at $473,503 for the office, so I wouldn't have any additional ask this year
Because of cuts you made.
because of cuts I made in other places.
So back to the sheet. The average neighboring counties is 74, and the average population is 84, and you're at 89.
And we have to throw out Washington County because Gene said so. Because that one is, I mean, that does really mess with the average.
Yeah, why? Because they're by Iowa City, or why do they pay so
They-
high?
Years back, they were giving out huge raises. There was a group of supervisors in there that did that. They were drunk with money and I don't know how else you explain it, but they got carried away.
Speaking of drunk with money, I want everybody to remember, this is not our money. This is
That's right.
property taxpayers.
Courtney, first of all, I want to say thank you because I think you give us some very good comparables. And I agree with you that you're running with a slim office. Again, this is not an enjoyable job. I think we have to do what's right. Even though we are probably cutting dollars in places, again, I'm going to say, I think taxpayers are probably going to need the relief this year as much as anybody. And there's a lot of things you said that I agree with, and there's a lot of comparables, and I will say that, as I was doing some of these comparables, I was reaching out to other auditors in the state. And I will say that, it's not easy to get a lot of information out of some of them places. Some places they don't even answer their phone, or some didn't even, I couldn't even get an answer. So I appreciate your office. But we still have to do the right thing. And I will make a motion that with the 2.5% increase.
I'll second it.
You second, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. We do have a motion and a second for 2.5%. So is there any more discussion from board members? If not, Courtney, roll call, please.
Anderson, oh,
Oh,
sorry.
wait, hang on. No,
Is the stipend a separate?
That's separate.
that'll be next.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Anderson,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
The second part of this does not affect deputies. Her current stipend being budget director for the Board of Supervisors is 3,500. She is asking for that to be 5,000. So Courtney, if you want to speak to that, and then the board can, or
Yeah, I increased that just so we could get a little closer to average without as much budget at Terry ask, and that it would not affect my deputies' salaries. Because I know that it costs more when you start adding more money to 3 people versus 1. And I kind of looked at some of the other stipends. For example, Audubon, he gets $7,200. 35, 3, 35, but yeah, I just used some comparables. And like I said, I was just including that with my salary to try to get my total compensation comparable to the ones that I provided that were in our county.
and you're 7 months into the first year of this.
Well, I've done the budget many years, but
Right.
7 months into being compensated for doing the budget, yes.
And I know you're probably sick of me because I've probably spent 40 hours in your office over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, 'tis the season.
Asking, no, but I mean, as far as, hey, what if we did this? What if we did that? All the different scenarios.
There's a lot
You've done a good
that
job
goes into
providing.
it, for sure.
It's tough to put a dollar amount on that.
Well, especially that there's a lot of work goes into this budget, and I think we all realize that. And she does a good job of it. And she's always willing to work with us and run different scenarios.
I think I scenarioed her out as far as
I don't think there are any more,
on some of the
Scott.
spreadsheets that we have that she provided, there are columns I told her to hide because of just the different, what different things would do to the levies that would have complicated the heck out of this meeting. So this is part B of section 1D, the stipend. So I'm looking for a motion to 3,500 is current and she's asking for 5,000. So
goes beyond just doing the budgeting for the board of supervisors. She compiles a lot of the budget figures. And presents them to us. So I think it's beyond just doing it for the board of supervisors. And I do appreciate your office, just like I appreciate everybody else's office.
Their motion to make a change.
I was waiting for somebody else to do something once.
I'll do something. One, I want to say I appreciate your communication. To me, communication with the board of supervisors is probably key. So I'll go ahead and make the motion to increase it to $4,000.
We have a motion and a second to take it from $3,500 to $4,000. Any more discussion from the board? Courtney?
Anderson, Houseman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
McCray.
Yes,
Okay, motion carries.
Item E, not on the agenda. County attorney at 2.5%, which was recommended, would be $2,385 with two assistant county attorneys. County attorney's current salary is $95,404. And he, like I say, he does have two part-time assistants. I believe one is at 85% and one is at 50%, if I'm correct, John. Is that correct?
Yes,
Would you like to speak or?
I would.
Okay,
Thank you.
yes.
The last time I was up here talking about comp board, I told you how I felt about the comp board. Still feel that way because it was the one opportunity where I felt somebody was actually looking at facts. We're all entitled to their own opinions. We're not entitled to their own facts. And the lay of the land for county attorney service is not based upon people who think $100,000 a year is a king ransom. And isn't based upon people who don't like or think they know something about the criminal justice system and they sit around while they're at work posting Facebook crap. That's not how my office operates. Almost daily. People from throughout this state, county attorney's offices, the attorney general's office and other government. My advice. I know a lot about what I do. I know the lay of the land. And I submitted to you page 4 of the salary survey, or at least I gave it to Courtney. Because when it comes to so-called comparable, let's talk
Yeah,
about some of the things that Courtney touched on. I told several of you over the years, I travel around to other counties in the area. In fact, I've done work for other counties in the area. They hire me because I know about certain things that their county attorney is not. I've always been impressed with our auditor. Smallest staff I see. I think efficiency has something to do with it. When you look at the county attorney budget net of revenue for actual activities, things that we produce fees on, whether you want to go 5 above, 5 below neighboring county, if you do it on a per capita basis, Carroll County always is average or below total cost. So this idea that people that we're spending too much money on prosecution. And while I'm on the topic, this county is obligated to provide public safety. Sheriff, prosecutor. This county is obligated to have this courthouse. And have a recorder, treasurer, an auditor, who functions the paper for. And through the conference board, the assessor office. And by the way, I remember there was an election to get rid of the recorder and the vote was no. Okay, so I don't think that's a real live issue.
I agree with you that I just,
I mean, it's,
I just stating some facts.
given the opportunity, the people in this county do not want less democracy. That's my opinion. Wasn't there a vote to get rid of townships? That went down?
Not get rid of townships, trustee.
Trustees and clerks.
Township trustees have one big. People in this county, I think people in general like democracy. Getting back to some facts, The importance about page 4 is here's the lay of the land that's going across. I can give you some area examples. Generally speaking, as longtime county attorneys and prosecutors have been hiring a lot of positions, they get no applicants or one applicant, or they get applicants that they really wouldn't want to hire. There's a state public defender position available for Carroll County, three counties, court departments. That's been open for a couple of years. We had somebody for about 3 months. That pays $110,000.
Are they still paying us rent on that?
It's $20 a month.
Yeah, we got reimbursed for this year, but it's a vacant office.
Point is that when it comes to hiring good lawyers, 110, 120 grand a year doesn't cut it. Simply doesn't. That's just reality. You've got different people with different goals. You got people with different work practices. I mean, I'm a workaholic. I get up in the morning, I can't wait to get in the office. If I need to be there until 5 or 6 or 7 or come back later at night, I do it. A lot of people go into public service because they like that 9 to 5 and check out and you're down the road. So let's look at page 4. Every other county that has a so-called part-time county attorney salary, except for one of any type of comparable population, Carroll County is the second from the bottom. Butler County, 14,000 population, 106,000 salary. Clayton County, 17,000 population, 97,000 salary. Fayette County, 19,000 population, 116,000 salary. Why? I know what happened up in Fayette County. They had a vacancy and nobody applied. And they had to keep raising the freight to get somebody interested in going up there. Cassuth County, 14, that's that double county, biggest county in Iowa. 14,000 population, salary $112,927. I am not overpaid. I will not sit here and listen to snide remarks and read crap on the internet about people who want to backbite. They're entitled to their opinions, they're not entitled to their facts. I do a hell of a good job for this county. Any metric you want to look at, whether it's court collections, victim restitution, number of people out of this county that go to prison and stay in prison, number of appeals that have been successful to overturn a criminal conviction, of which there's never been one, ever. Any metric you want to look at. And again, as I said earlier, that comp board deal, I thought was kind of nice. One time somebody stood up and said, hey, John's doing a good job. So I guess I have to blow my own horn. I am not into this drama. 2.5%. That's what it was indicated. The board was thinking. I plugged in 2.5%. I'm not going to come back up here and say, well, I can come up with all these stats and gotta give me more and give me all that. 2.5 is fine. But I hope the board keeps in mind the fundamental purpose of county government. When you look at cutting expenditures, there's lots of places to look for things that aren't mandated services before you ever start looking at something that is critical and why this courthouse exists.
Thank you. And you are the second most senior on page 4, by the way, of years of service.
Well, you know, you hang around long enough, pick up a lot of art, but once in a while you pick up a little wisdom. And so that's kind of where that's at.
All right.
I'm just not gonna get into this drama and this and match and arguing about, well, give me 3.98. I'm just not into it, guys. Maybe good lady, I'm sorry.
You do a good job. We appreciate
I'm
it.
not gonna do it.
Yep.
I'm not gonna do it.
All right.
So board says 2.5 works. I'm hunky dory with that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
So the county attorney is 2.5% would be $2,385. And again, there are 2 assistant county attorneys. His current salary is $95,404. So I will entertain a motion. He is suggesting 2%, 2.5%.
I'll motion the county attorney at 2.5%.
For a second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second for 2.5% for the county attorney. Courtney, please.
Anderson,
No.
Houseman,
No.
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
So moving on to item number 2, set fiscal year 26 elected officials' salaries and compensation. So Courtney, what I've got so far
Do
is,
we have to do the supervisors?
oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Supervisors. I think it's been spoke well. that
I'll make a motion
supervisors-
for a 0% increase.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Courtney?
Anderson,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now moving on to the old number 3, the new number 2, set fiscal year 26 elected officials' salaries and compensations. So I'm showing a 6.
5% for the sheriff.
Oh, I'm sorry, I that wrong.
It's
Thank you.
5 and then 2.5 across the board plus
And then
4
0.
for auditor and 0.
Not 4 for the auditor.
4,000 stipend.
Oh, thank you. Not 4%.
4,000.
So Courtney, you want to read those and then we can get a motion in a second?
Okay, sheriff, 5%, treasurer, recorder, auditor, attorney, 2.5%, auditor, 4,000.
So move.
Second.
Motion in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. So let's do roll call, Courtney. Let's stick with roll call.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 So moving on to the previously number 1, number 3 now. Ambulance. Ambulance administrative assistant is asking for 15%. The current salary is $44,908. And the director is asking 15%. Current is $86,693. So that'd be a $13,000 raise for the ambulance director, and a administrative assistant would be $6,736. Morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
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 You all received kind of a rationale for why I'm. Market adjustment. Is there any questions or anything like that?
I would like it if you went through that again, or you never presented it the first time, but I would like it if you, unless you guys have read it and have it memorized.
Nope. Go ahead.
Want me to read it word for word, or you want me to kind of summarize?
Either however it fits you. You're the one that's got to try to sell
As
it.
far as the industry assistant, Roxy's been here since 2017. Her primary job is the billing. Her technical title is administrative assistant, but she takes care of a lot of different things at the station. Out of all of the counties that I reached out to, there's only 2 lists that do their own billing. There's a reason for that. It's because it sucks. If you were, most places hire it out, they usually pay anywhere from 8 to 10% of their total revenue. And for us would be $112,000 to $140,000, and that's every single year. So Roxy's current salary is $44,908. You know, we save that much money between the 2 of us every single year doing the billing ourselves.
Is that along with GEMT?
Right.
Okay.
You know, that's all kind of included in it.
I'm clarifying that for the board.
One county that does do their own billing that I reached out to as far as variables, they have 2 full-time billers. And they pay them both over $30 an hour. So if you do the math on that, it's about $135,000 a year that they pay just for the billing. So that would be in accordance between the 2, so doing it themselves or doing it, having it hired out. And that service, their call volume is 2,500 a year, and their revenue is 1.3 million, where ours is around 2,800 a year, and our revenue is about 1.4 million now, and still growing. Any questions on
Let's do these one at a time. Courtney, the way the agenda is written, can we do them one at a time? we just have ambulance, or do we need to do the director and administrative assistant? at the same
You're,
time?
you're doing the department as a whole.
Okay. So continue, Jamie.
As far as myself, I've been here for 14 years, started off PRN and then went regular part-time and full-time and service director. Over those 3.5 years I've been service director, my duties have expanded a lot. There's a lot of things that have been added. EMS is ever evolving, meaning that we have to keep up at times. I take a lot of pride in my job. I take a lot of pride in being able to provide the best patient care as possible. We do a lot of education, a lot of training that was never done before, and that's no disrespect to any prior director. I get a lot of feedback from the first responder groups and the satellite agencies that, you know, you pay attention to us where, you know, in past years they were there, you know, and the director didn't have much to do with them or, you know, give much input. With that, when I started as director, I found that a lot of things were up to par as far as like the satellites go and first responders. So I elected to have them be basically, they worked with us and we took care of all of their making sure that they're compliant with their certifications. There's what's called a data portal. Everything has to be inputted with it. That was way outdated. Everything's up to date now. The state comes in and does their inspection and he basically, to the point where he didn't even go out to the satellites or the first responder agencies. He said, is everything ran the same as it is here in Carroll? And I said, yes. He said, well, you're well above and beyond what I did before. So we're not even watch, but nice. With the billing, Roxy and I work on the billing together. So that was kind of hit on earlier. Medicare data collection. So it's something that Medicare is doing to collect data to see if they're reimbursing it up, which to me was kind of silly because we all know they're not. But there was a lot of time that I spent doing that. Every other agency that I talked to hired it out at anywhere from $20,000 to $35,000. Due to the fact that I keep track of virtually everything, as Scott can pretty much attest to, see some of my spreadsheets. I opted to do it myself. And I did it, excuse me, been under the weather, so sorry if I start talking sound like that. Collected data for a year. I did the research prior to, in order to be able to know what I needed to collect. Collected that and submitted all in a timely manner, and there's no penalty towards it, because if you didn't submit it, you just chose to opt out, they would reduce your Medicare reimbursement by 10%, which would be for us approximately $140,000. So you saved $140,000 and $35,000 just for one. GEMT is a very good thing. It was started prior to me being director. We didn't start reaping the benefits until after I was director with their own passing. However, their requirements for reporting has greatly grown. They want to know what each call was dispatched for, what each call was billed for, among many other things. So that's just another thing that I add in my daily routine to keep track of, so I can submit that, because otherwise they won't give us reimbursement as much as what they would if we don't have it. If we don't have that data, they wouldn't reimburse as much. As far as revenue goes, I can't take credit for all of the revenue increases. However, a great amount of it is due to the fact that I read every single report that's written. Prior to that, the director had somebody doing it for them, and they would get essentially 12 duty hours. So I'm not only saving that, but I'm coaching staff as far as treatment, so that not only does it do better for like patient care, it does better for the billing side of it too. So, you know, some won't start IVs on certain patients. Well, they BLS in or basic level, then you can only bill this much. And I'm not coaching it to get more reimbursement, it's for the patient care. But with that, you get better reimbursement if you're doing a higher level of care.
It's also constructive criticism.
Right. You know, and some don't like that, but the thing is I feel as though the residents of Carroll County deserve the highest possible care that we can give them. And with that education I talked about earlier, the training and And doing the CQI, we can achieve that and only get better as time passes. As far as grants go, you know, I kind of had, I let Stephanie and Scott know kind of how things were flowing with that. He initially 3 years ago, we were granted $3,500 a year. The first year I was able to get an extra $9,000 just by doing the extra hard work and calling and emailing the gentleman that hands out the money saying, you know, some of our other counties don't use that money. So by me reaching out to him and being proactive and doing the extra things they're asking for, then they gave me about some of the funds that were left over. I utilize those funds as a county-wide basis because that's what it's intended for. It's not just for Carroll County, because the way I look at it is we are all one big team. And we all need to work together. So, you know, helping out these first responder groups like Arcadia and the satellites like Rita and who have it in Templeton, making us one group, I think more fluid. Medication. So prior to last year, we were what's called pharmacy based for our medications. Basically, I was just like a steward. I kept track of them and made sure that they're being administered properly and documentation was done. Now, after an inspection by our board of pharmacy, they requested that we go to a medical director based formula, which means I am in charge of them. I order them. If things go bad, it's my butt. So my name, my license, both of my licenses are on the line. It's where that wasn't part of the job initially when I took it. But it's a move for the positive. It just puts a lot more liability on myself and on Dr. Nystrom, the medical director. So there's a lot of extra time that I put in place to keep track of every medication that's administered, where it came from, where it went, the patient that it went to, you know, and how much they wasted. There's a lot of extra work that goes into it. If anybody has any questions on anything, we're going to go through this. Hours worked. I'm at work almost all the time. If I work like part-time, I don't just take that day off. I make that day up on Saturday, Sunday. I work more weekends than I don't. I work more holidays than I don't. There's been numerous times where Scott stopped down on Saturday and I'll spend 12 hours there on Saturday, just trying to get things done and you know, make up for hours here. The last 2 years I've not taken a vacation because I had numerous staff out with surgeries. And there was one instance where I had a scheduled vacation with my kids. There was another staff member that couldn't get the day off, or I couldn't find coverage for it. I canceled my vacation so we could have this. I don't know how many other directors do that, but I feel as though they need their time off. I feel as though I need my time off. But I like to make sure that, you know, that there's a lot of mental health that goes on in EMS, and them having their time off is really important. That's why I cover a lot of shifts that can't get covered by part-time staff. Comparisons. Excuse me. So it's very difficult to do county and county comparisons with Carroll County. We do things way different than other counties. A lot of counties, they have like their main county hub, and then they have small town hubs where they're basically owned by the town. They do their own billing. They hire out their billing, where we do the billing for all 7 ambulances within the county. Some of the comparables I can see on that Excel spreadsheet I put out. You know, just because the population, like for Dallas County, the population's high, but they don't respond to that entire population base. So it's kind of a skewed number there. So I showed that's kind of the high side. I kind of let you guys know which ones are that's probably the second most comparable. Washington County is the most comparable, which apparently we have to throw that one out. But it's hard to do that in a situation like this because they are the most similar to us. And you figure that director makes $95,000 a year, and then he also pays $135,000 a year for where Roxy and I do the billing. But I try to do it by call volume, and with the population, and then the staff. So with staff, you know, with us being I oversee basically the entire county. with the agreements that we have with this specific.
Plus you
towns,
touch into 5 of the 6 neighboring counties too.
you know,
Well,
so,
Probably like in Dallas, there's probably a lot of Polk counties covering that are private
Right,
medical.
with the
and-
hospitals.
yeah, so that's, I mean, that's not their response of, 3,200 calls a year isn't necessarily accurate. It's less than that, but that's kind of what they're doing, and the population piece is different. But, and like, the Crawford one that they're trying to hire for at 85,000, they couldn't find anybody to fill it. And that's also a supervisor position that works under the ER director. But I mean, basically, I mean, I could ask for a lot more. I feel to be in line with what we do in Carroll County, but I felt, with what I'm asking was a fair amount. You know, I base it kind of on what's grown and what extra duties I have as compared to what I was hired for. You know, like medical examiners as well, you know, we were really scraping the barrel for medical examiners, and I recruited 8 more. You know, because that wasn't something I was really aware of that I was in charge of, but I was made aware of that after the fact, but neither here nor there. But I
And you
just-
get stuck with a lot of those too, which is extra compensation.
Well,
but-
that's the other side of it is, you know, Dr. Slattery is the lead medical examiner, the physician medical examiner, and the last thing I want him to have to do is to go out and actually do them. So I find myself, if nobody else calls in, that I go and do them, even though I've got other things going on. You know, we go to a billing conference every year. Had to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was still doing the medical examiner case at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I went home, got like an hour of sleep, got back up and went and sat in the classroom for 8-9 hours.
Who covers for you if you're in the hospital or something happens to you? Do you have an assistant under you that takes care of stuff, so you wouldn't have to take the load off you a little bit?
I have one person that generally is the contact point when I'm gone.
So
My
Mark-
phone's always on me.
Stephanie and I are on the ambulance board, so we get almost weekly updates of what's going on down
Okay.
there. But when he's gonna be gone, he does send us a letter and. tells
I'm
us
just
who
curious,
is in
because it
charge.
sounds like you do way above and beyond what you probably should, not saying you should be doing, but I just wonder who covers for you if you have an assistant, because you're putting in way too many hours as far as I'm
Well,
concerned.
and I want to address that at this point. I think if you're putting that many hours, I don't want any employee, I mean, I have no problem with doing additional stuff if they're outside. But I don't want any employee be employed so much that they wind up becoming a liability for the county. You understand what I'm saying? If somebody, let's say like the sheriff's got somebody that works all kinds of hours and he doesn't get any sleep. Well, he's the last one I want to have pointing a gun at me. You know,
Well-
so that's what kind of, I'm cautioned that we don't get people that are putting in too much time too.
One of the things with me is that's how I was brought up. I've done it for years.
I understand
Yeah,
that.
no,
I'm
I-
from the old school. I know what it's like to you about it. But I'm concerned about that liability of that issues. Angie brought that up.
Yeah, nope.
If he were non-exempt, we would be paying him a hell of a
I know,
lot.
I
more.
agree with that.
Being exempt, the county's getting a steal because we're not getting charged for the overtime you're
Right,
putting in.
and you know, the thing is I don't have to cover those shifts necessarily for my staff to take vacations, but I do. Very rarely am I unable to do that.
But I'm just, like I said, I'm just
No,
cautioning you.
And like, currently, I keep track of all my hours. Currently, I have 920 hours of comp time. I don't get comp time, I'm not exempt, but what I do, what I have been told is I work extra hours here, I can take it off here, but the problem is I don't take a lot of that time off. It's not because it's because I'm going above and beyond my normal work duties to get the job done and make sure that the taxpayers in Carroll County are like.
So back to, any more questions for Jamie?
No, but one thing I will appreciate, or Tom, I appreciate the communication and the transparency with your department.
And I do stop there lots on weekends because that black truck's sitting out in front and he provides me every chart and everything I want to see. I mean, yeah.
There, you know, some say I go above or overboard with some of the stuff I keep track of. But you know what, it comes back, I don't have to go through in a hurry to try to put things together where I already have it.
Yeah.
You know, just because I keep track of it, and the reason I keep track of it is because I want to be able to have that data for you guys when you ask me. And, you know, be able to do the Medicare data process or data collection without having to pay $35,000 to somebody like pretty much everybody else did. You know, the billing works out well for us to do it, you know. Like with Roxy, she works hard. There's been claims that she worked on for well over a year. It was $150 that she was working for. She's dedicated to everything. It's just like I am. You know, I get calls, I would say at least once every 2 weeks of other services asking how we do things because they want to run it how Carroll County wants to. And with that comes offers of employment, but no, I do like it here. And like I said, I think the amount that I'm asking for is could be more, but I thought it was a fair amount.
I do recall a meeting last fall with a representative from Randy Feenstra's office on how we operate and the compliment she gave over the way she's been the other ambulance services in Northwest Iowa. So, okay, back to business. 3A ambulance administrative assistant is at $44,908. He's asking for a $6,736 increase, which is 15%. The director is at $86,693, same as 15,000, which 15%, which is $13,003. So time for board discussion.
I think, Jamie, what you have is legit, but personally, I can't do 15%. That's just too much for our taxpayers to burden the cost of things like that, and a bad precedent to set on some of that, so. But I think you do a great job.
And we can do a dollar amount or percent on
Yep.
these. That's why they're both listed.
Okay.
Or stick to the 2.5% COLA recommendation. These are only asks.
And I think another thing I don't like dragging stuff up, but another thing we look at too, this doesn't all have to be done when we get to it. Make it more palatable to track.
Bumps and salaries, bumps every year.
And we can't guarantee.
Yeah, we can't commit future boards to
can't.
following something that we decide today.
But I'd be willing to take that consideration.
I get the things are getting tight, but you know. I think I've proven my worth.
Oh,
And
300%.
for doing part of it like this year, next year, the next year, like you just said, it's not guaranteed. You know, and then you just fall farther and farther behind because these counties are still going up that amount.
It isn't that, I mean, Jamie, I appreciate what you do and I appreciate a lot of all our employees do, because I do think we have a good group. Not palatable. Do I believe there's adjustment need to be done here? Yes.
I'll plan with our calculators.
My calculator's
I-
played already.
I'll do as I did with the sheriff. I'll propose 5%.
For both positions?
Yes, I think they're well worth, especially billing that part, what Jamie does above and beyond the extra.
We're gonna, we say that much every single year.
No, I get it.
You know, and this is a compliment again to our staff for Carroll County. And I know I've been taking on this whole morning, but Jamie, obviously Scott and I are very well versed in what you do because we get we sit on the board, and if there's anything pertinent, we obviously share it with the rest of the board. But again, I want to commend you for taking the time and telling us about which ambulance is doing what's happening, just so that we're hearing it from you firsthand, not from the general public, and we have to footstep we don't know. Because a lot of times if somebody asks a question, they ask the board of supervisors first. So there's a motion.
There's a 5%
5%.
motion for the director and the administrative assistant. Which is double the COLA rate. Is there a second? Motion failed.
I'll make a motion for 6%.
Motion for 6%. Is there a second? Motion fails.
Getting to be an auction.
Yeah, I will,
Give me 1 second, sorry.
I had them. Mine, I'll make a motion for 7%. That's what I was thinking.
There's a motion for 7%, which is just shy of half of the request. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any more discussion for 7% for the administrative assistant and ambulance director? Courtney, please.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No,
Thank you, Jamie.
thanks, Jamie.
B is conservation. The director currently is at $69,694. He's asking for the director currently is, $69,694, asking for a 7.5%, which is $5,196. And the office manager is currently at $46,849. Wants a 4.5% increase, which is $2,108. And a park ranger, which is currently $5,162. He's asking 5%, which would be a $3,652 raise. Good morning.
Morning.
So just to start out a little bit, it's the same as I presented when I presented my budget originally. Just a couple of things on some things I sent out. Obviously, our percentages as a dollar figure, since our department is probably one of the lower paid departments within the county. Our percentages, I don't feel add up to a ton of money, and I held steady on pretty much all my other line items in my budget for FY26, kind of offset these salary adjustments. So I do salary adjustments every year when I prepare my budget. Our Iowa County Conservation System does a complete statewide basically salary survey. Every director sends in all the employees in their department, what they're making. And that gets compiled into a master list of every county conservation board employee within the state. They also list populations, so that's what I use for my comparable group. And if Gene can kind of remember back to union days, some similar, the list I use is similar to the same list that back when we did union negotiations, we use kind of that same list. Pretty much population, a lot of it also has to do with staffing, because I don't think it's really fair to compare counties that really don't have a similar staffing style. That's what makes it a little challenging for all the conservation boards to do things a little different. So we really try to find counties that are within our population. And then also kind of have a similar staffing structure to ours. So basically I don't, you ask that I'm changing, like I said, for the director position or our office manager. She goes above and beyond. She takes care of all of our cabins, keeps track of all our reservations. We've got a lot to her plate. Over the years with adding cabins and more reservations and all that stuff. Park rangers, trying to get him to a position that's similar, like I said, to other counties. And also look at, I think it's very important, is years of service. Obviously, we've had some turnover the last few years, so we've got some newer employees. But we do have some employees that are getting 6, 7, 8 years, and we want to keep those as well because they're good employees. So those are kind of my my justifications for it. I did, provide a list of the top group averages and also the statewide averages. Obviously, the statewide averages, they show, counties much bigger than ours, but got, so.
Appreciate your
some of those
honesty there.
counties
No, I appreciate that.
really throw that off into a little different world, but, so that's why I try with the comp group to at least be reasonable with counties of our size and our staffing, so.
So to make this clear, you're asking 5% above the 2.5% for the director, 2% above the 2.5% for the office manager, and 3% above the 2.5% for the park ranger, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and then,
Oh, go ahead.
no, and then do in your comparables, do these other, the two park rangers, the director and the other park ranger, do they get housing provided as part of their package?
I'll make sure that's in.
Okay, so we're comparing apples to apples. That I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
And I also sent out just some different scenarios. Because basically I wanted to kind of show what the difference was gonna be on my budget, whether. I guess against doing just a 2.5% across the board. So if we look at what I presented with the salary adjustments. Versus a 2.5% across the board for everyone, that would increase my budget $6,959. That includes salaries, FICA and IFRS. And then this board knows if it's a better workable scenario for the director position to get dropped back to 2.5%. But those two salary adjustments in there, I'd be willing to do that as well.
You've done that.
Almost every
And
year.
You've done it. No, and I appreciate that, but
And I think it's time,
I think you
that,
need to quit saying that and look out for
It's
yourself.
true.
If we had to replace you, we need to have a fair market rate.
Correct, and that's my reason for doing this.
Right.
And I will say too, this is not just. This is something, yes, I compile the budget, but this is something I review with my conservation board as well.
Correct.
Prior to submitting it to you, so this is all discussed by my conservation board, approved by my conservation board before I ever bring it to you guys, so it isn't just me throwing numbers out.
But I will
We
also
do spend
say,
A lot of time.
And it was unanimous. Yes, there.
Thanks.
I'll put that in.
and I will say you do go above and beyond in this, for the 7 years I've been sat on this board, you always put your staff first. And so I commend you for that. That is really great leadership.
he has done that ever since he's been a director.
Mhm.
So the overall ask on your budget, including everything, if these raises were to be approved, is less than $7,000. Yeah, you've provided us,
I mean, that would be the difference in 2.5 across the board versus the salary.
but I like your, I don't want to say style, but your presentation. If this were a slideshow, it would get an A+.
Well, maybe I felt too much, but I like to give it.
No, it's not.
No, you don't put out too much. You do the right amount.
Easy to understand and.
And again, I'll go through the dollar values real quick. So beyond the 2.5%, it would be a $5,196 dollar raise for the office. I'm sorry, for the director. The office manager would be $2,108 and the park ranger would be $3,652. Correct. So conversation from the board. He did say his board approved it unanimously.
Yes, they did.
And my one question was on the park ranger and the director, as far as do they get, I don't want to call it free housing, but are they given a place to live and a company vehicle? Questions or comments? They're an autonomous board, but we supply the funding. Mike sits on it, but he can't vote.
Any input from Mike? I mean, you sat on the board, but what are you
Yeah.
thinking?
They were unanimous about it. I always come back to the fact that they do have company vehicles and in housing, I think is a big plus to a lot of things. That cost.
Are utilities and stuff paid with that
Yes.
Yes. It's a. big
And
thing.
insurance,
insurance?
and they're tax-free.
I'm not knocking it, that's a good perk.
And I don't know, for that reason, I would make a motion to do. I mean, can you split them up that it's listed like that?
We can do them one at a
You can
time,
do 'em
absolutely.
individually.
Yeah, I would do, my motion would to be. The director 6.5, the office manager 4.5, and the park ranger 4%.
So you're going above or you're including the 2.5%?
That's including. That's total.
Which is, that's what this is too, isn't it?
No, he's got them separated. So Mike's
No,
on your,
look on your.
I'm just saying 7.5%
Hey,
includes
look on this sheet.
what you did. He's going by one you said, oh, Scott.
Mike, can you repeat that?
oh, okay.
My motion would be 6.5 for the director, the officer manager 4.5, and the park ranger 4.
So according to what he's doing, he's including the 2.5%.
Yeah.
Okay. Same again, the 6.5.
I 6.5 for the director, 4.5 for the officer manager, and 4 for the park ranger.
So the office manager you're keeping as he recommended then.
Yes, and my theory behind that is for living in vehicles are
Okay.
included.
There is a motion. Do we have a second? That fails.
I'll make a motion that we go 7.5% on director because he has passed up opportunities many times in the past. I appreciate that. Office manager 4.5% and the park ranger at 4%.
So you're saying, as he recommended on the first two and the park ranger?
No, I read the full 7.5.
Yes,
Oh, as he did,
as he did, yeah. And then the park ranger,
4%.
so 1.5% above. Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Courtney, did you get all that?
Mhm.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board members? Roll call, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Houseman,
No,
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
No,
Grace.
Thanks, Jason.
thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
C, secondary roads.
real quick. It was 7.5,
4.5.
4.5.
4.
Okay, thank you.
Secondary roads, Zach had asked for several different things, but you want 5% for all secondary roads. Employees except the office manager.
All secondary roads employees, except the maintenance superintendent
Right.
and the assistant to the engineer. I'm asking for additional.
Okay, so 5% up for everybody and 8.5% for the superintendent, who makes $73,985. So that would be an increase of $5,935. And 6.5% for the assistant to the engineer, which currently makes $91,748 or $5,963. So discussion.
A couple comments on the wage comparisons that I gave you. I did surrounding counties and I did the wage comparison by counties with similar population, 5,000 or within 5 up or 5 down from Carroll. The biggest thing, I guess, looking at that, those are current fiscal year numbers that do not include any, what those proposals might be for going for next year. I'm hearing the 2.5% thrown around a lot from what I've heard from other county consumers. The other thing that I'd like to point out on those sheets, the bottom row that I put in there was the raise needed to get to the average of those counties. So that would not include any cost of living for this year as well, like I discussed, so. A couple other things as it relates to our department. Our overall revenue or where the dollars come from for our department, approximately 39% of that revenue comes from property tax. The other 61% comes from other sources. So I know that's been a big thing, the point of discussion. I felt that was important to make that point. So
So 61% of your total revenue comes from road use tax, farm to market.
road use tax and other fund, the farm to market's not even included, and that's not even local, so that's a separate deal. Only used for construction, not for our local budget.
Okay.
We do use some of our local dollars for construction as well. Obviously, that varies anywhere from a couple $100,000 to a couple million, depending on the year and what projects we have planned for that year. So. As far as numbers go for our department, approximately $110,000 increase in payroll for our whole department. About $46,000 increase for the FICA IPERS part of that. So that's the I guess the total increase in ask for what I'm asking for. As far as the tax asking that I normally ask from the property tax side of it, not increasing the percentage, using the same percentage we've used for, I guess, a lot of years. I don't know how far back it goes. That would be about $119,000 additional that we would get this year from last year. Our increase from our road use tax is $247,000. So we're upwards of $365,000 more that we're expecting in revenue from the normal sources that we've gotten it from. And the increase in payroll, including FICA and IPERS, would be that $156,000 and change. I guess with that, I'm open to comments, questions, or discussion.
I can repeat them one more time. Secondary roads, 5% for all employees other than the superintendent, an 8.5% increase, which would be $5,935 above the current pay of $73,985. 6.5% for assistant to the engineer, which currently makes $91,748 for an increase of $5,963. To my knowledge, I think I've been on the board in my 5th year. I don't believe you've asked for any, I don't want to say market adjustments, but any increases other than COLA or what the county has.
Correct.
So can you? The sheet I have for wage comparisons were, to get to average, we're all over the board. What is your ask here, just to be clarified?
So not every one of our job descriptions or every one of our positions gets close to that 5%, but I'd say 90% of them do. There's the 5% doesn't even get people to work to average in some cases. But at the same point in time, it's as a collective whole, I want to make sure we're taking care of the people that do a good job in our department and that are I guess putting the boots on the ground. The majority of our staff falls in that operator wage column. That's the majority of our staff. There's only 5 people that fall outside of that 6 people, sorry, 7 people, not I keep adding 7 people that fall outside of that category. So that's the majority of where our wage comes from, is that first category. The other thing that to look at on these,
I'm gonna guess it's 9, because does your maintenance or your mechanic and chief mechanic fall under that category? Are they separate?
2, 3, they would be separate, 3,
So it's 9.
4, 6, 7, 8. That's what I come up with. We have 2 mechanics, shop manager, superintendent, assistant to the engineer, assistant engineer, office manager, and engineer.
Okay.
So I count 8.
Are we gonna do this all in one motion?
What would be, ask the board, what would you guys, how would you like to do it? The machine operators first, then the assistant to the engineer and the superintendent? Do 3 different ones?
You can do it 3 separate ones, or I mean, if you think you're gonna have better luck with motions that way, or you could do it all in one.
I'd
You
say
really wanted to
two.
do,
Let's do the 2 requests and then the rest of that one. Do
Cool. Do the 5%.
do that one separate and then the other 2 together.
So I will entertain a motion for a market adjustment. With the comparisons he gave us, he's asking for 5%. I don't have a dollar value on that because I cannot figure out your payroll, all the different funds and stuff it comes out of.
5%
Wait a
for
minute.
your operators.
That'd be the operators. You're gonna do that one first?
you're gonna do operators first?
You tell me how you guys want to do it.
But the 5% that you're asking for is for operators, shop manager, mechanic.
It'd be everybody except for the superintendent and the assistant to the engineer.
So it
So-
would be the guys, yep.
And you have an
And gals.
assistant and engineer, you have a second one.
And that
That's-
includes,
An assistant engineer, an assistant to the engineer. The assistant to the engineer is the one I'm asking for, the 6.5.
Okay, there you go. That's what I was wondering.
We called that superintendent, I thought.
The superintendent is separate. There's an assistant to the engineer, an assistant engineer, and a superintendent. There's 3 different people.
I didn't capture that.
but you're only doing 2 of those.
Correct.
Okay, yes, thank you.
In my opinion, I would, and this is kind of how I went into the budget season this year, I'd like to see our line staff and hourly employees get a decent market adjustment.
So is that a motion for the 5%?
There's no number tied to that. I will say, you've got a lot of dedicated employees as well. You've got a lot of years of service. And a lot of your staff. John does too. You got a lot of dedicated employees.
If we're looking for a motion, I'll make a motion that we approve the request for the superintendent and also the assistant to the engineer. I'll make that motion,
So that's the 8.5 and the 6.5%?
because I think those 2, they do need a market adjustment.
So that's the way we'll start out then. We have a motion. Do we have a second for the 8.5% for the superintendent and 6.5% for the assistant to the engineer?
Because according to comparables, they are definitely the ones that are farthest behind.
And this is the first time I've heard.
Yes.
For above and beyond.
Well, in his temperature.
You want mine, Steph? Dean made a motion for 8.5% for the superintendent, 6.5% for the assistant to the engineer. Is there a second? Motion dies. Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve or to just the superintendent at 7.5%.
Okay,
Just
we
doing
have
the
a,
one
Just
position.
doing one
we have a
position.
standalone motion for the superintendent of 7.5%. Is there a second? Lack of second, motion dies.
I'd make a motion to give superintendent 7% and the assistant to engineer 4%.
So we have a motion by Mike for the superintendent at 7% and the assistant to the engineer at 4%. Do we have a second?
Trying to get my bearings here, so just give me a second.
Which is 1.5% below the ask for the superintendent and 2.5% for the
Did
assistant.
you get a second?
No, we haven't. I'm just telling Stephanie needs a second. I was trying to.
Move along.
Second. Okay, back to scratch. Again, the request was 8.5% for superintendent, 6.5%, or I'm sorry, 6.5% for the assistant to the engineer.
I'll make a motion that the superintendent, all 5% across the board for those three positions.
Three or
Two, excuse me, two. 5% increase.
For those two positions.
Two
Okay,
positions.
there's a motion. Is there a second for 5% for both? We're at stalemate. Okay, motion fails.
Okay, I'm
that.
gonna make a motion, and I think these two are exemplary employees, and they do deserve what they have coming to them, and if we had all employees like them, we would have the world by the bulls. Anyway, I'm gonna go with 8% for the superintendent and 6% for the assistant engineer.
Everybody get that? Gene made a motion for 8% and 6%, so 0.5% less than the engineer's recommendation by using the comparables provided to us. Is there a second? I will second that. So there is a motion and a second for 8% and 6%. Courtney?
Anderson,
No.
Houseman.
No.
Johnson.
Yes.
Miners,
Yes,
McCray,
No,
motion fails.
What's been motioned already? I'm scratches here.
I think the board all agrees that they are exemplary employees.
Yes.
It's a matter of
absolutely.
where
Coming
we-
to an agreement, and that's
where
why I
we
think we need to
land.
separate those out.
keeping in mind, it's not our money that we are.
I think they need to
I
be
think it'd be
separate.
Okay,
That's where I think we're running into the
Alright.
pitfall.
here we go. Let's start with superintendent. Recommendation is 8.5%. Would it help if we said a name?
No,
Okay.
Yep.
8.5% is, we're doing this. Now we're going to do it in 3 different motions. Superintendent first, 8.5% recommendation, which is $5,935 on top of a salary of $73,985.
I'll make a motion for the superintendent to receive a 6.5% increase. Was that yours already?
I did 7.5
Okay,
by himself.
6.5 by himself.
6.5 for the superintendent. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Courtney, magic roll call, please.
Anderson.
Yes.
Houseman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Miners.
No,
McCray.
No,
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to the assistant to the engineer, which is currently at $91,748 or $5,963. The engineer's recommendation is 6.5%.
I'll make a motion that we give him 6.5%.
We have a motion for the full recommendation for the assistant to engineer of 6.5%. Do we have a second? Motion fails. Sticking with assistant to the engineer, looking for a motion, 6.5% again. Feel like an auctioneer. It was the county engineer's recommendation to, I don't want to say make them whole, but to become average with surrounding counties and population counties.
I make a motion, assistant engineers 5% raise.
Okay, there is a motion for a 5% raise for the assistant to the engineer. Is there a second?
I asked a question first.
Yes, absolutely.
To Zach, on your comparables here, your assistant to engineer is, for surrounding counties, he's 2.2% below. And on your like comparable population counties, he's actually, he's actually above.
No, he's saying that's what raise he needs to get to average.
Oh, to
He
get
needs
to
a
average.
7.4 to get to average. If the way I'm reading it right.
Or-
the
yeah,
wrong-
That's a wrong,
wrong
that's
category.
the wrong guy.
Oh, okay.
You're looking at the wrong one. Look at to assistant to engineer.
So the big thing I want you to look at there, look at the years of service on most of those in that category.
Yep.
There's 4 of them that have less than 3 years experience. That is a huge deal with that position.
Okay.
He has 41 years of experience.
Okay.
So I almost didn't even want to put those numbers in there because they don't do justice, but I kept everything the same. If I found a number for it, I put it in there regardless of the years of service.
Okay.
But that's a huge deal.
Okay.
Not only the experience and I guess, just what you know of the county that you've been in, that amount of years in one place, knowing the ins and outs of how everything is done and how everything is ran. That person does an exceptional job.
And he does
of
things,
managing what he takes care of above and beyond what he should.
and I will say one thing, he's one that does other things than just pushing a pencil.
Yep.
Because he's down in a ditch with a scoop shovel a lot of times when other people aren't.
Thanks for your clarity.
I mean,
Well, that's right.
I'll stand behind this individual all the while.
So we have a motion right now at 5% for assistant to the engineer. I'm looking for a second.
I agree with Gene. He does a great job. I just think with the budget being tight, you can't justify the full 6.5.
Keep in mind, 39% of it comes to
I get
taxpayers.
it. I get it. I get it.
Right now, the current recommendation, the engineer suggested 6.5. I believe it was Mike who said 5%, and I need a second.
No,
Oh,
McCray.
McCray.
I'm sorry, Mark said
motion
5%. I'm sorry, thank you. Courtney, are you catching all this or are you gonna have to rewatch?
The one that said McCray.
Huh?
McCray made the motion.
I'm making chicken scratches over here.
I am trying.
I'm keeping track of everything.
So how about if I don't say who the motion's from? There is a motion. Is there a second? I will second. We have a motion and a second for a 5% for the assistant to the engineer. Any more discussion? Roll call, Courtney.
Anderson.
No.
Houseman.
No.
Johnson.
Yes.
Miners.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So now the third part of this, which is not on the sheet here, is 5% for the remaining staff. Excluding yourself, which yours will be up July 1. And again, if we go the majority of these people go under the operator wage. Is that the correct category we're looking at?
Correct. You take out the two that you've already acted on, there'd be 6 people left that would not fall under that operator wage category.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? What's the difference between operator, the 3 and the 4? Is it just different duties that one operator can do?
Operator 4s generally run multiple pieces of equipment
Okay.
on a normal basis. That's probably the biggest difference, I'd say.
Isn't there like 17 cents
It's
between them?
a very small difference.
I think our scale is like 17 cents or 15 cents between them. Again, the county engineers ask, it's 5%. I was trying to keep the meeting moving. But we need to give them due diligence too. And I can't put a dollar figure on that, and I don't know if you can, Zach, or not.
Well, that's the comment I made for the
The
way
119,000.
the 110,000 would be for the whole, if you did 5% for the whole group.
And that included FICA and IPERS.
FICA and IPERS was another 46,000.
So way I got that 156 total. And that would be roughly 30 employees, 28 employees.
7 employees,
Ready?
26 or 27.
It's 110 and 46, you said?
But even if we
The
did,
110 includes those 2 that were in there for giving them 5. That's for basically everybody. The 110 actually includes everybody in our department, all 33. But the operator rate wage row is only 27 employees.
so the question, Zach, the 110, if they would have got the 2.5%, would that have been 55,000 then? Or is this?
Correct.
Okay, so that's included. So really only half of that is an additional
He's
ask.
correct.
above an additional.
I just wanna make sure we all
55,000.
Correct.
Myself and everybody understands that. So again, the cost of living recommendation from the board was 5.5%. He's asking for,
And I think
was
what-
2.5%. And
And the reason he's asking for this, I think he's concerned about what comparables the other counties of losing people.
And he provided us the information. And to my knowledge, first time asked. And these are the snowplow drivers, the motor grader operators, the mechanics. Correct. I'm all ears waiting for motion.
You can give one.
Chair's not really supposed to. Chair's not
Yes,
supposed to. I can, but I've only done 2 seconds. I mean, Zach and I have had the conversations. Nobody is leaving to a neighboring county now, but we've got excellent people and we don't want to lose any of them. Is this the year to, I don't want to say play catch up, or is it not?
I will make a motion. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm in 3.5% for the rest.
So 1% above.
3.5, you said?
3.5.
So Gene's asking for 1% above cost of living for the remaining 27 employees, operators, mechanics, whatever that takes to keep our roads clear and drivable. There a second.
And I will also state that I do know that one of the adjoining counties is going 4% on their roads.
Second that, I said.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for 3.5% for the remaining of secondary roads employees. Courtney.
Discussion?
Huh?
Discussion?
Oh, sorry, is there a discussion? I think,
Okay. Anderson,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Johnson.
yes.
Miners,
Yes,
McCray,
No,
motion carries.
Next is Board of
is there anything else in the
yeah,
budget?
is there, No,
that's it for me.
that's Board
unless-
of Supervisors.
Mm-mm.
So Board of Supervisors, I think I don't know if we need a vote on an increase, but then I do have a follow-up as far as administrative things. So I think who would like to make a motion? The Board of Supervisors.
I think we did that already, didn't we?
Yeah, we did that.
I didn't know that we voted on it, but okay. So then
Yeah, we did vote on it because I made the motion.
Yeah.
okay. So for OSHA, safety and workman's comp, Amy Ferdinand has been doing all that, and she is a secondary road employee. And that function really is more of an administrative function, which would fall underneath the Board of Supervisors, kind of like we pay Renee for HR services. And the recommendation is for a $3,000 annual stipend, 1,000 for OSHA, 1,000 for workman's comp, and 1,000 for safety. And the way Courtney made that sound, it could come out of, it'd be like the weed commissioner's funding, correct?
Yeah, be okay with it. We could take the 3,000 from her normal salary line. And then the Board of Supervisors could reimburse roads annually for the cost. If he was okay with that. Otherwise, we get into the weeds a little bit if we make her Board of Supervisor employee, and then her benefits and everything gets.
It can be done.
I think until last year, I think it was an underappreciated job that was assumed to be at the roads department, but with that,
I think it probably is there because they have.
no, but last year we had a lost time injury, which consumed a ton of time. And we've had several recordables.
Yes, I'm gonna say that one of the office managers at one time was going to do it. And it's become more than it was.
That'd be,
But to me, it shouldn't come out of the rural fund. It should come out of supervisors. Yes,
Because she's doing it as administrative.
exactly.
job.
Correct. And I think she's doing,
If Zach's okay with it, we would just reimburse him.
I think that's.
And it might be more than 3 if he wants, but for some of the $3,000 entails, it wouldn't be a ton of money, but Okay.
Flows the best. And the safety committee is alive and well under her leadership, and we do need it. And it is an important thing, and I think several of us in here are participating in upcoming events. So anyway, I'm looking for a motion for a $3,000 annual side.
One question here.
Yeah.
Why don't we just add this into our salary?
Because it comes out of roads.
Roads.
Okay,
So it's all the budgeting thing. It's.
okay, I'm just saying you don't do that, then we have to do it
It's
every
an
year.
administrative service versus a.
No, I think it's a great, I think she needs it, I get it, but,
So I'm not saying we're sacrificing the supervisor's wages, but we won't need to adjust anything or a current budget to.
Okay.
I'm looking for a motion for $3,000 to Amy Ferdinand for OSHA, workman's comp and safety.
a motion $3,000 stipend for Amy Ferdinand.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Not, roll call please, Courtney.
There wasn't a second.
I thought,
I thought you did, Steph.
Yeah.
Did I second? Who moved
Yeah.
it?
I did.
Oh,
Mark did.
okay, second then. I thought I motioned
Yeah.
it.
she had a first motion, but I wrote it down as a second.
Yeah, Mark said it, and then you said so moved. So-
Yes, she did.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, back to square one. Any discussion?
No.
Courtney, would you please do a roll call?
Yes, Anderson,
What's the order? One.
why? You mess me up. McCray,
Yes.
Myers,
yes,
Johnson,
Yes,
Houseman,
Yes,
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thanks,
Can
Ed.
we clarify, is this a fiscal 25 or a fiscal 24? Because we talked about having it in our budget this year already. Are we gonna reimburse her in 25 or are we gonna wait till July 1st?
that's a good question.
Okay,
I mean, she's been acting that role and putting in the hour again with a
That's
lot.
why I'm asking.
And
and with the difference we did with our HIPAA.
Yep.
We do have some additional funding in the Board of
Correct.
Supervisors line to pay for that.
budget.
We do, yes, or you do, yeah.
so make it retroactive back to July 1, 2024.
So effective. this
or
year.
make it active right now. half.
Or half this year? Since we just voted on it.
It's a board decision.
She's been doing the job.
I agree.
I would say start from June 1,
July 1.
July 1,
Uh,
24.
thank you.
Do we have to make a motion to that?
I would probably make a motion on that.
I'll make. Sorry. I made a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second that started July 1, 2024. Any more discussion? On, Courtney? Roll call.
Johnson,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Miners,
This,
Anderson,
No.
McCray.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item E, sheriff. 5% for all deputies or $3,857 on their current pay of $77,157. 5% for jailers, they're at $53,908 or $2,695. And communication center, 5% on top of $59,866 or $2,993. Jason and Ken.
Where do you want to start? You want to do them all at once or?
Each one has their own separate budget, so I think, the way I have them listed here is deputies first, then jailers, then communication.
Okay. I asked for 5% for all the deputies, and that would include Lieutenant Franzen. All my deputies excluding one would be considered senior law enforcement officers with 10+ years of service now. I think it's only right. I think they're in the job we do and the stuff we put up with. And as I pointed out before, we are by far the lowest staff sheriff's office in the state of Brick County, over 20,000. I'm not complaining about that. I mean, we get the job done.
Absolutely.
Everybody's happy to do it.
How many less are you, Ken? I didn't see that.
Anywhere from, it would be
Sure you sent the information to me, but I did not see it.
that sheet there.
Oh,
I
I had
had
it.
for
Yep.
list deputies, so. Bremer County 14, Washington County 21. I gotta take that out of the pictures already. Building on that.
Sad.
We need
He
to move
wants to know,
Washington County.
can you keep Washington County in there?
Pascapen, BV 14, Jones County 12,
Nope.
Cannon 13. So, we have 10 counting me. Like I said, I'm not complaining about that, neither are they, but. I think if you
Sometimes I'm
factor in-
1411.
What was that?
Sometimes I'm
Every
1411.
once in a while, on a Saturday when you're bored.
So I did get a hold of the auditors and I sent you the one correction
Yep.
on,
Fraud.
but so again, this is using surrounding counties, which sometimes we want, sometimes we don't. But the average of the surrounding counties is $80,934. We're currently at $77,157, which is 4.66 below the average of the neighboring counties.
What percent?
4.66 below. And I do remember 2 years ago, they got a little bit over a 12% raise as far as a market adjustment. Last year, they got 3.2, just like everybody else. So that was, I think I sent those to the board, the letters from the auditors on those, on the deputies.
And I hear you guys talking, things are tough this year, and I get that, but I don't want to see us fall behind. Then the catch up is slow, if not impossible. I definitely know as a taxpayer myself, smaller portions are easier to chew off. And it's a competitive market right now. I mean, Carroll Police Department's in the process of hiring one. They lost to the state patrol. They're down to, I think, 2 candidates. I think they had 5 applications total, so
And I know you
not a
didn't
lot
have,
of people, well, 20 years ago, we used to have 50 applicants for a position. Those days are gone.
well, and then if you hire somebody, you don't know if they're gonna have to go to the, well, you said you're gonna have resignation coming up May of this next fiscal year, and you put money,
March of 2026.
but that's this fiscal year, and like we put in
It is.
15,000 extra, because you didn't know if
And
you would
we-
get somebody who's
And I
been through
told
the
board
academy.
too, we might be losing one of our guys. to
Active duty,
deployment.
yep.
Still waiting on orders from the guard, but it sounds like it's gonna happen.
He planned on coming, he planned on coming back when he's.
Yeah, he'll come back, but we wouldn't be paying him while he's gone on deployment, so we would hire somebody right away.
You have to guarantee him his
Just
position.
get
No,
it
I
done.
know it, but sometimes I just. I
And
get
that would coincide with Lieutenant Francis.
Yep.
Retirement.
Yep, perfect timing.
So any questions about that?
So, I don't have any questions. I'll just repeat the way I've been doing it. So it would be, the deputies right now are at 77,157. It would be 5% would be a $3,857 increase. I don't know if anybody else did any other information. I think I sent everything to the board members that from other neighboring counties. Some people want to use neighboring counties, some don't. I don't get it.
And, it upsets me a little bit when I see the number of deputies our neighboring counties have and their size and what they get paid compared to the number of deputies we have in our pay. I said, it's a competitive market. I don't want to lose anybody. I said, got a great staff, great people. They're all involved in their communities.
Yep. They're all young. You got great staff.
In my count, you have 7, right? Outside of you and John, you have 7.
No,
And
there'd
Tom.
be 8.
I
Tom,
put Tom on
including
that too.
Tom.
I took Tom on.
John and I would be the only 2.
Oh, okay.
So again, the cost of living is, the recommended is 2.5. Ken's asking for 5. The neighboring counties do show that they are below average.
How are we setting with the jailers? Of how close are we?
As far
I
as,
mean, they're right after 5% versus your deputies and, how do we?
I'll get to
compare?
that next,
Oh.
but,
Okay. We're just doing.
Yeah, right now we're just doing
deputies,
deputies.
right? Okay, sorry.
Then we're gonna do jailers, then we're gonna do common.
Sorry, yep.
They're all under his umbrella,
Yep.
of it, and he asked for 5% for all of it.
Yep, I get it.
to me, you can't put a price on dedication.
And safety, you guys are out there. You never know who's gonna be behind the windshield when you come to a traffic stop, who's got a gun in there, right?
And you do have years of dedication with your staff. You can see that.
We
as
do,
well.
and I'm
And they're homegrown.
thankful every day for, we don't have the turnover that some places do.
I'll make a motion to approve 5% for the deputy sheriffs.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion amongst the board? Courtney, roll call, please.
Anderson.
Yes.
Houseman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Miners.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on, jailers, current salary 53,908. He's asking again 5%. Or a $2,695 raise. And I did not, did anybody get comparables on jail staff? I didn't get any from,
Did,
The only thing I got is that there's some. That's not a decent comparable. In Audubon, they've got jailers and dispatchers together, and
their dispatchers are jailers.
yeah, and I don't like that because
Well, you gotta understand how the Audubon County Jail is set up. I worked there for 11 years. Sometimes they have 1 prisoner. It's,
remember when we went
Be
around
very-
looking at jails
yeah,
and someone were using dispatchers, I was so
Yeah.
totally against that.
no, not a good situation.
No.
It's hard to use comparables for neighboring counties. Just because you've been to Sac County's jail. Can't
Would you call
compare
that a jail?
What?
You call it a jail or a
Yeah.
dungeon?
Green County's in the process of building one. I think they got
They just
everything
passed,
through.
I think 2 years ago, we gave the jailers 12%. because you eliminated a position, if I recall.
We did.
Yep.
When the jail supervisor retired,
Yes.
we did not fill her position.
And then last year they got 3.2, and this year you're asking for 5.
And we are fully staffed. And Liz, you've been over there.
Yep.
You have, I mean, it's not a job for everybody.
Mm-mm.
And you saved money by getting rid of consolidated foods
I
and
actually
hiring your
did.
own cook.
I actually did lower the jail budget by 30 something. I didn't write that down, but
Because of your increased revenue? Or,
no, because the fact that we're gonna start paying some of our bills, I eliminated line items. You can see all the line items we eliminated on the worksheet. Just because we're gonna pay for those out of our commissary fund. You remember me talking about that?
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, I have on here a negative 133,883.
That we saved.
Well, that you are at, your ask is that much less for this year.
Yeah.
Is what I
didn't
have.
know it's quite that much, but
Well, that's, my math could be wrong, but I'm saying that was
I
it.
know it's a sizable amount.
I have, you had 667,000 for the current fiscal year, and this year, again, you added to your revenues, but your total ask is 533,119.
And we did just get a new batch of Polka Downing yesterday, so. Still going good.
What number you at today?
Right around 30, I think.
You should
You
say
gotta understand-
5% is
And you
his
gotta
number
understand
today.
something, Polk County's numbers are down, I think. They're just being generous because they don't wanna lose places to put them in the summer and when they're busy. So they do still provide us with inmates, even though I don't think they have to right now.
Is Sean and Melissa considered in the jailer part of this?
No, they fall under the sheriff's office budget.
Okay.
They're both civil clerks. I said, great staff over there. We are fully staffed.
It seems like you don't have a lot of turnover there neither.
What was that?
You don't seem to have a lot of turnover over there neither.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. And it seems like you got people that are
Like,
dedicated.
Very dedicated staff, 24/7. Nights, holidays, weekends, all that crap. And if the
Free
kitchen-
food.
And if the kitchen help, which has happened a couple of times, we have one full-time cook. One part-time where they've both been sick, the jail staff jumps right in. Prepares the meals, does the dishes, gets the kitchen clean. Without missing a beat.
And you got recognized a couple weeks ago for passing your jail inspection.
I mean. I invite anybody to stop over there, it's amazing how clean it is. It
It's been that
doesn't-
way from day one.
it
You
does
guys
not
do a
look or
good job.
smell like a jail.
No, I would agree.
All right, we're back to the jailers. Current salary is 53,908. He's asking for a 5% raise, which is $2,695 per person. Take any motion.
Money we're saving over there.
Make a motion for 2.5% for jailers.
There's a motion for the standard cost of living raise for the jailers. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second. Any more discussion? Courtney?
Anderson,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners,
No,
McCray,
Yes.
motion carries.
Moving on, communication center. He's the same ask, 5%. Current salary is $59,866.
Did everybody get the sheet from Courtney that was just emailed out? A week ago, yep.
I got more sheets than you.
Once again, as you can see by the numbers, we are the lowest staff communication center. for a county our size. Can't tell you what a great job they do. I mean, I've talked about it at other meetings, you know. I don't think very many people would hop in their personal pickup and drive up to Clay County during floods and help them set up temporary radios and man them and show them how everything works, and sleep in their truck for a few days. They are cross-trained. We do emergency medical dispatch, so they're all certified in that. That's something that's not mandated, but Jason and I thought it'd be a good idea to do. And it has saved a couple lives over the years.
Had a visit from one yesterday, actually. It was
Oh,
the
really?
year anniversary of a CPR save from our center. Stopped in yesterday, I'm sorry, on Tuesday, on the 18th.
Did they bring you food in?
Cookies, yeah. Yeah, not a hard healthy, but I appreciate them very much.
Once again, 24/7 job. And I can't speak of the loyalty and the experience that we have down there. We do have one new dispatcher now, which took 6 to 7 months to fill that position, just because nobody was interested in it.
And I'd like to add, and normally we would get interest from neighboring counties. So I know that's always a big thing. Let's compare neighboring counties. The last opening, last two openings, we did not get any applicants from neighboring counties. So we are a little higher than some of our neighboring counties, but it's not enough incentive for them to drive for work, apparently. And it's really disingenuous to compare the job of our communication center to the job of neighboring counties. The closest in population is Crawford. They're 75%, roughly speaking, of our population. Everybody else is half or less of our population, which directly correlates to call volume in the communication center. Nobody's dispatching for a town the size of Carroll. These other ones don't have 2 small town police departments. They don't have 12 fire departments and 6, 7 transport ambulances. They don't have the sort of responsibility. They're not doing emergency medical dispatch. The comparison is just we just offer a lot of services, a lot of skill level that isn't done in our neighbors, at least not all of them.
Including Maggie, what's your average for years of service? Roughly?
Well, everybody, it's 9 years. I'm 20 years of experience. The years of public safety experience in our center is very high. We have, I think, 3 employees, maybe you have the numbers better than I
12,
can,
17, 12, 1, 11, 11, 3.
here at the county.
Mhm.
And then some of them have dispatch experience before they came to
Yep.
us. But the last few, we haven't been able to attract experienced dispatchers. It's okay. We train them and I'll put them up against any communication center in the state of Iowa on skill level. 2 of us are credentialed incident tactical dispatchers. I'm a credentialed communications leader. Centers our size generally don't have people with those credentials. That just doesn't happen. I would trust each and every single one of our dispatchers' lives for the lives of my children, for the lives of my parents. And if anybody has to call 911, I'd hope whoever answers the phone is skilled as our dispatchers, because they do some of the most amazing work that nobody else sees.
Thank you, Jason.
Any questions?
No, by the sheet, it looks like we're top and start in bordering counties, we're top pay for starting and top hourly. And then by population, it looks like we're ranked 4 out of 7 there. Which for
About the middle of that.
yep.
Yeah, I think according to what I figured, we're above on each one of them.
I will say that the borderings are top four are within a buck. I mean, they're close.
Yeah, that gap has narrowed
It's
greatly
narrowed
over the
great.
last few years. Which I assume is why we can't attract any neighboring county dispatchers to come here.
And they couldn't either or something, yeah.
The
Yeah.
value of working close to home and the cost of driving, just doesn't pay to come for us anymore. Of half of our staff and all of our longest serving staff have come from neighboring counties, myself included. Dallas, Charter, Camper, Cook, or from other counties. Our last two openings have been dispatchers that have left, for other government jobs, one for another county, one for the state of Iowa with better pay and better hours.
So back to the third item on the agenda. The communication center current pay 59,866. The ask is 5%, which is $2,993. Jason, thank you for providing comparables.
They're not easy to get.
I'm not sure they work in your favor really, but
Well,
But
they're
you're asking 5% for the whole staff, right?
correct.
Yeah, the 59, just to have clarity on that, is the lowest paid,
What was that, Mike?
lowest paid dispatcher.
right, that's the,
That
That
can't
ain't-
be the new play.
No, not new employees less than that. It's
Yeah.
50.
Oh, never
There's a
mind.
few-
Sorry.
There's a few that are getting longevity, which gives them
I missed one. Yeah, there's,
pretty
yeah.
minuscule. It's
sorry about that. I misspoke. Yeah. There's one below that. Yep.
in a motion.
I'll make a motion for 3.5%.
Three
We
and a half.
have, we have a
3.5.
motion for 3.5%, which is 1% above the cost of living suggested increase. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion amongst the board? 3.5% for Comm Center. Courtney?
Anderson,
Yes.
Houseman,
No,
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes,
McCray.
No.
Motion carries.
Okay, item number F is the treasurer. Thank you. Yep.
thank you.
And I think Lisa's gonna need that whole table by herself.
give it to her.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Ken.
Have a good day.
You too. We can do a quick recess. for a second.
We haven't moved in 4 hours. Or 2 hours.
Say what?
This is the last item.
No.
Mm-mm.
After the treasurer, then,
Nonprofits.
yeah, I'm sorry, John.
you, I think we're done with you.
We're
Except
done.
The treasurer left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, John. Yes, you could have left, yes. Okay. Are you gonna criticize?
to abandon you, Lisa.
Are you gonna critique us or are you gonna critique us or anything? Are we all gonna get a letter from you? Okay.
Not publicly. Well, we got her on mute.
Hold on.
After that, then we have
John?
nonprofits
Thank you
and
for your time.
fiscal year 26.
I got a copy. I think you're methodically filed that deal.
Thank you. You may not always make friends or people might not leave with a smile, but
Have a good day.
I have 0 friends. Hmm? I have 0 friends.
so Lisa, which spreadsheet before we start?
Well,
would you
if
like
you're
us to
gonna,
get out?
one of my original, need someone to drink. One of my original
Oh.
proposals was me at
This is so
2.5%.
good.
Are you running with your
Mhm.
ask right now?
No, I'm waiting for him to come back. You just asked me which spreadsheet.
Oh,
I just,
okay.
I want to get on the same page
Yeah.
so we can,
So,
so
so option number 3.
I make a motion.
So moved.
Second. Sorry, Lisa.
We will.
They give
Before
away
you
that property.
And I raised the point, our region gave away property.
It's 7:42. Call this meeting back to order.
Okay, so option 3 that I presented to you guys back in February 3rd was if my pay salary stayed at the 2.5. But I asked that my deputies get their percentages increased. They haven't been increased since they were appointed back in 2020. And I also asked for a pay increase for the non-deputy employees of $3,000 apiece. It was also suggested that I ask for the 3,000 plus the 2.5. On the spreadsheet that I had presented back in February 3rd, it does not include the $50,000 additional revenue that we discussed, and it does not have the 2.5. So if we did do the additional 5% for the 4 deputies, the 2.5 plus the $3,000 for the 2 employees that aren't deputies, and I increase my revenue, my budget would actually be about $85,000 less than last year. And in this budget, it also does still have that 4% increase in the insurance.
Get everything together.
That's all right.
I'm not ignoring you by
Here we
any
go.
means. On this sheet right there. Is this what we're looking at?
This is here,
No, I see.
Separate, separate.
Which I have, right? This one?
but the only thing on that one, on the right side column H, I forgot to change the breakdown. It says 9, it has a 9% figures in there with a breakdown, but the actual salary itself is the correct amount. Does that make sense to you? Because I was going through the different spreadsheets. So column H, it has me at 82,814.9 times 2.5. Below that, though, when I was doing the deputies, I forgot to change that 82,000. I left it at the 90,000 when it was at 9%. But the actual count, the amount in column G is the correct amount.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
So,
So your salary will be 84,885,
correct.
and you're asking then,
So then I'm asking the 4 deputies to be increased by the 5%. They're right now at 75, 69, 71, and 53. I'm asking to increase them each by 5%. They haven't been increased since they were appointed. The percentages, I think the only one that was increased was Danielle's. That went from 51 to 53%. But otherwise, the other ones have not increased. And then I'm asking that the other 2 employees in my office get the $3,000 raise for the market adjustment plus the 2.5. The 2.5 is not in there because this is when I presented it back in February. I didn't go in and change that but like I said, overall on the spreadsheet that I sent out back then, the budget one, that does not include the 50,000 additional revenue. And it does include the 4% interest for the insurance increase also. But if you add that 50,000 in, we're at $84,000, 84,000 less than last year, our budget.
so I'm confused. You're wanting a $3,000 increase for Danielle, who is at 53%.
Because if mine's staying at 2.5, it's better for her to leave her as a deputy than it is to give her the 3,000 plus the 2.5.
Say that again. You would want to keep.
I originally, I was going, if I got the 9%, I was going to take Daniel down from a budget, from a deputy to an hourly employee. But if I leave her at, if I get the 5% increase for my deputy, she benefits better to stay as a deputy than she does if she's an hourly employee. Because right now, if you keep her at, if she increases her 5%, she'd be at 49,233. If you did it as an hourly employee, she'd be at 48,161.
Need a little bit of math time.
Yeah.
Said I need a little bit of math time, just doing
Okay.
some math.
Well, I did, and you probably don't have an extra copy.
I gave Mike a copy of it.
Which one?
The,
Yeah.
Genes, yeah. Do you want to run down what that is?
Yeah. I did a worksheet myself and I did it. Not knowing where I was gonna wind up with yours. I did it 3.5 and I did it 3, and I did it 2.5.
So you want us to look down the far right?
So you want to do the far right
Okay.
column. So if you go down 2.5%, that get you that 84, 85, 20. So. And if we raise 3 deputies you were talking about, if we would raise them, I got two scenarios. We raise 1% or 2%. And then also with the other 3 going with the 3,000 plus 2.5%. So if I'm gonna go down to first, if we raise it from 1%. So the one that was at 75, we go to 76, she'd be 64,512.80. The next one that was at 69% would go to 70%, would be 59,419.69. If the one that was at 71% would be at 72%, would be 61,117.39. Leaving the other 3 with just giving them 3,000 plus 2.5%. The second scenario on that 2.5%, if we would raise the Brunings, and the only reason I added another one here because I don't want to do this every year. If
Well,
we
they
would-
haven't raised, they haven't been raised since
Okay,
two
well,
thousand
let me
twenty.
finish. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, the reason I put a second one is because I don't want to be going through this every freaking year. Anyway, so if you take the one that's 75 and you bring her to 77,000, it's $65,361.66. The next one that was at 69%, that's would go to 71%, would be 60,268.58. The one that's at 71,000 would go to 73,000, would be 61,966.25. And the other 3 would be there again. The first one would be at 45,100. The other one would be 48,064.20. The other one would be 44,075. So if you look at the first scenario, that makes a difference in salaries of $21,415.69. And to go an extra percentage on those deputies would bring that to 23,962.26. And you don't have this. I wish I had an extra copy.
I ran extras.
Did she have a copy of it?
Courtney, you have a copy?
No, I haven't got any of it.
I have one, but I can go make a copy.
I just have what I submitted to you.
Yeah, I know. I have another, or no, I don't. Go ahead, Dalton.
And I did send an email to the counties again, I mean. Hate to say again, the 5 counties above, 5 counties below of what their deputies made. For like the tax administration, the motor vehicle, and they were all at 85, 80%. Whereas mine's top one is at 75%.
But
So
you did the neighboring counties, which all. below you,
I
so-
did the 5 above and 5 below for population because that's the work they're doing, the title transfers, the taxpayers, that's the transaction that they're doing. I didn't do the surrounding counties
Okay.
because of the workloads, a little different comparables. But like we're 32 in the state, Winnebago is 33. Their motor vehicle deputy makes 85%, their tax deputy makes 85%, and the driver's license deputy makes 85%. And they have 3 clerks that are at 77, 50, and 50. And then like Buena Vista, the county above us, their office deputy is at 80%, their driver's license deputy is at 80%, my highest one is at 75%.
The one that are
But the Buena
85,
Vista also
the ones
has
that are at 85
Eight
and the
paid employees.
one you have at 75% and the one at 85%. What year's service difference was there?
The one at 75% is 11 years, and the one at 71% is
No, no, no,
10 years.
He's talking the other
Oh.
county.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't ask that.
Yeah, I think that makes a difference too. I mean, how do I want to say this? I had a conversation with somebody the other day. Longevity has some benefits too.
Well, and that I agree with
Tribal
that.
knowledge.
And a lot of people in my office have been there for many years and then they retired. So I'm starting with a new office.
I mean, so there's. Some of us say in the old school, you have to pay your dues.
I have ones that retired and I have moved to another office. So
you want to go down that, the third column on the right, Lisa?
Yes.
Gene needs to go down that one more time with you, watch.
Okay, that third
So you
column,
want 80, 74, 76.
what's that?
That's,
Oh,
those are
that's
my
okay.
notes that what you were requesting.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So you're just basically doing 2% increase.
Well, 2.5%
2.5.
on your salary, based
Okay,
on your
yep.
salary. And then if you go down those on the side, right there, let me walk over.
No, I can see, I got you right here.
Okay.
So you're
I-
you're going
like-
from,
Like the first one there, I raised it 1%,
mhm,
which would make that salary 64,512, and in the second scenario, if you would raise it 2%, the only reason I added 2%, so we don't have to go through this every year.
right,
So that going down that whole way. That's taking the bottom three, doing exactly what we were talking about.
Yep.
And that would then the difference, that would cost in your budget additional $21,415. If we go an extra percent would be 23,962.
right. So let me,
That's giving you, based on what the board would recommend on your salary, plus increase some of those. Levels. What do we do, 1% or 2%?
And then then in your scenario, Gene, she's getting rid of one deputy.
Yeah, she's getting rid of one deputy. And I think that one that you're talking about getting rid of, she still would be above.
if you do the 2%,
Yeah.
if you agreed with the 5% that I requested, she'd be better at staying as the deputy.
So I think this works out.
But like I said, I also want to put in the factor that, you know, with that House file that passed for the Carroll County, or for the counties, we will be bringing in more revenue for the office too, for the county. That helps offset because we do a public service is not a big revenue,
Right.
but with, you know. the
It's
House
an
file that
unknown
passed.
revenue to you right now.
It's an unknown right now, but I mean, like yesterday, we just did 39 dealer titles for someone. I mean, we just take that times $10 on each one, you know,
So Gene, are you looking to make a motion on either one of your two scenarios? We've already set her salary at 2.5%.
Was there any discussion? on that?
That's what I was gonna do a motion second, then discussion.
because, you know, like you said about longevity and like the not changing every so many years. These guys, they were appointed deputies when I became treasurer, and their percentages, except for the one that's at the 53%, have not changed. They've been that. And I thought when I became treasurer and they were,
We're changing them.
yeah, I know, but you're saying you don't want to do it you don't want to do it every 2 years or whatever. Well, they haven't been changed for 5 years.
And we're,
I
I'm
always,
trying to give you the cake and ice cream at the same time, but not to the extent you.
I always go back to, and I've told this a couple times, I'm all about changing them, but I always wish that could happen before we say what the raise is, because then it's always, well, what's better?
Right.
And I don't like that scenario at all. I'd rather you say, hey, these guys have been here this long, let's bump this up a percent. And then a couple months later, we say, oh, we're gonna do 2.5% roughly for the whole county, you know?
Yeah.
I don't like determining this percentage after that, because then it's like, well, this benefits me. That's my opinion. And I'm just letting you guys know that.
Well, and when I started off the percentages that I gave them, I also did low. I didn't go automatically at 80, 85% because I knew they were new to their jobs
Yep.
and they're not gonna know everything that they do.
So
Yeah,
Mike,
but
is your
the-
suggestion that we decide right now whether we want to keep 4 deputies or make it be 3? Is that what you're leading into?
I mean, kinda, it's
yeah.
because it's in that same scenario I brought up the last 2 years. This is year 3, it's coming out right now on the 1.
And actually, I am down 1 deputy from last
Yep.
year.
Yep.
So
But
this
what
is-
I'm saying is that same scenario is coming, which way better benefits us.
Yeah,
I don't like that. Never have.
I think that's in each case scenario, which way is
Yeah.
better, you know, it's gonna change. As we see. what-
And I think that you do need to move them up. You've asked 3 years in a row. I think they need to get moved. I don't know what percentage that is. You know, I just did the math on one of them there. It's with if you did the 5%, that's a 9.5% raise this year.
Yeah, and I'm not in favor of that.
I'm not in favor of that either, but
I'll tell you what.
I'm only
I'll
one
make
vote.
Things move on. I'll make a motion that based on her 2.5%, that we go and move the 3 deputies up to 2%. There's to 77, 71, and 73%, as I got listed on this paper. And then remove the one from a deputy position, and then those bottom 3 would get a 3,000 bonus or, you know, market adjustment and 2.5%.
you'd have 3 of them. Okay, yeah.
So that would be a total difference in their budget of 23,962.26. And I'm not going to guarantee those numbers, but I think I'm pretty accurate.
I think those are very.
Let me clarify that one more time. So you're willing to go up percentages by 2%. And then those following three, you would do the $3,000 stipend plus the 2.5%, right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure I heard that right.
And get rid of the 53% deputy on the one.
Okay.
The least. it
Can
would-
I ask why, just in general, and you might not have to answer this, but I just have a question. Why do people, or when did this start that you call them deputies?
It's in the code.
1992.
So each.
No, it's been ever since I've been here.
And I sent that to Scott because he was kind of questioning it. We don't have to have deputies. I mean, it's not required by law, but you need somebody to act in your
position
absence if you're
something were to
gone.
happen. So like.
So like
you
if
know
Lisa
who would-
was
Yeah.
out of the office due to whatever, she has deputies in there that can handle things for her and the office keeps moving.
Okay.
Same with me.
But we have a new opening right now that is titled a deputy recorder. My question is, what qualifies you to be a deputy and does it have to be a deputy? And Courtney sent me the code.
Yeah, you don't have to have a deputies and the
Well-
deputies have to be approved by the board of supervisors.
And the reason why I have 3 deputies is because basically I have 3 different departments in my
Okay.
office.
3 disciplines. Yeah, right now you have 4.
Yeah.
But if you go to 3, you have 3
Right.
disciplines.
Okay.
So I
That's
have
what I
one
was-
for motor vehicle, I have one for
Tax.
driver's license, and I have one for tax.
Okay.
You know, so that's why we have.
I never understood and I've
Yeah.
never wanted to ask a question,
Yeah.
but I felt like it was time to
Yeah.
ask a question.
That's
Yes,
what I
and
was
back to your, as far as deputies, we did start that where it has to be approved by the board of supervisors, but we've never started a deputy at 70%, have
No,
we? I
no.
don't think so.
I think
And
a
it's,
bad
it's required by code for the supervisors to approve deputy
I
appointments.
think it's a bad.
We
precedent.
have to approve the deputy and the, right?
Yes.
Well, you approve the money.
We approved the budget.
So
So
technically,
basically approve the
yes.
percentage.
So at some point, all of your staff was approved by somebody at some point.
Yes.
Now, and this was all done, they were approved.
After your time, this was
prior.
before your time.
Before my.
Okay.
They,
As
they
it-
should be
as it
done.
Came new hires, that percentage changed.
Yeah, any new hire that gets to be a deputy, it should be done. Anytime you win re-election, it should be done. Anytime somebody leaves. Yeah, I mean, I think it needs to be done more often than what we've been doing it.
So Gene made a motion to, with the, treasurer's 2.5% raise, it's already been approved, to up 3 of her deputies by 2%, where the one will be at 77% of her salary, one will be at 71%, one will be at 73%. 3 other employees will get a $3,000 market adjustment plus 2.5%. Totaling roughly $23,962. Did I summarize that correctly?
Correctly.
Is there a second? I will second it. There's a
I
motion.
do, you got discussion now.
Yeah, after there's a motion, a second. Anybody further comments?
Okay, so I want you to know that 3,000 is a 9.5% raise for them. On them employees. It don't look like that, but it is.
Well, here's what compared to what she was requesting, I got there, the difference is 6.2. And it was a 5.5, you did the first with only 1%.
Yep. But it,
And the only reason I wanted to go that extra year, I don't want to be going visiting at all.
I'm just saying the 3,000 stipend is a 9.5% raise from last year.
Correct. But we had a discussion during the conference board about the starting wage that's gonna be coming up there. And there's another deputy recorder position that are probably both gonna be very similar to these, and these people already have tenure here.
I'm just
Yeah.
telling you stats.
Yep.
I mean,
No, I
we're
get-
trying to bring these up to
it's-
where they should be.
It's 9. I'm not necessarily defending it, but I did second it.
Yep.
But it's on a way lower wage than a $100,000 wage.
Yep.
The dollar amount is, yes, it is a higher percentage on a lower dollar amount. Good discussion. Anybody else want?
There's mud mark.
There's my,
Clear as
Well, I
mud.
think you laid it out decent. I think
yes, you did.
it took a while the first
Yeah.
time when you were going through
Yeah, I
option
got
1,
it.
2, and 3. But now that we're on option 3, it is.
It helps if you print it out in color too, so you can see where the 3 different categories
And-
fall into. And then, like I said, you know, and I hate to say it, but this is the time of year that we do ask for the percentages to be increased. You don't normally can ask for them in the middle of the year or whatever for the deputy.
I
and stuff, so-
personally just soon do it all at one time.
Yeah, and you know, so like I said, I've tried in the past and they haven't been increased, so I appreciate that they do get increased and stuff. And with this additional revenue that we will hopefully be bringing in, our budget will be quite a bit lower than what it was from the years past, so.
Well, and to address that, it's just like the jail. I mean, they're bringing additional revenue in too. But that revenue can also be the relief to the taxpayers.
It doesn't offset the mortgage payment on
No.
the jail, let alone the.
And same with
Operating
yours. I mean,
um,
being we're doing more, getting more revenue doesn't mean we have to
And Mike,
spread it out.
further clarification, I believe it's 55,491 is what the leaving employee in the recorder's office currently makes. Just to put these salaries in.
Yep.
Okay, in
Yep.
perspective,
And that person has been here that long.
a year and a half.
And I
So-
guess that's why when I said the 5%, because I knew that was like close to 9-10%, I was trying to.
Yeah.
Keep the playground happy.
Yep.
So
You do a good job explaining. I appreciate it.
there is a motion and a
That's good.
second. Would you like me to repeat them again one more time? Okay, Courtney's got it down. Courtney, roll call, please.
Anderson,
No.
No,
Yes.
Yes,
No,
Now we are open to other discussions. The 2.5% stays. Sounds like the lump sums might need more discussion, or the percentage of the increase on the deputies might need more discussion.
I will make a motion on this.
Okay. Go slow.
Okay, so
Courtney and me.
gosh, so much paperwork here, sorry. I would like to up the percentages to what Gene had said there, 77, 71, and 73
so it's 2% on each.
on each. And I would like the stipend to be $2,000 for the remainder three.
can we call it salary?
Salary adjustment, sorry, not stipend, salary adjustment of $2,000
$2,000 for each one
for
of
the
them,
remaining three,
plus 2.5%.
plus the 2.5%
Plus the-
raise.
plus the 2.5, yes. Correct.
So the two that you recommend still, they're gonna end up, those three deputies will get the 2.5 plus the 2, so they'll end up with a 4.5% raise. And the other one's at 2,000 plus on their current salary plus 2.5%.
Correct.
And that's a motion. So is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. More discussion from the board? Courtney, roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
is that
you,
the first
Lisa.
time that
Thanks,
that's happened
Lisa.
today?
That we got
Might be.
unanimous?
Yeah.
I think it
Oh,
is.
one other one.
Oh, okay, so
And
okay.
and supervisors.
Yeah.
0%.
All right.
So now moving on,
oh.
now we need to, item number 4, set fiscal year 26. No, non-union.
Nonprofits.
Somewhere we need to do the,
It's under item 3. Old 3.
that set the fiscal year.
Oh,
20
sorry, my bad. It's under it's under 2A1. No, it's under. I don't think
A1.
this,
B,
Yeah,
We gotta get this straight.
where are we going here? Yeah.
2.4.
that's where I started, 77. No.
Oh, I thought you were going down the set
And
the.
this would be
okay.
for everybody that you didn't make an,
I'll make a motion. It's 2.5%.
Say it again. Sorry.
2.5.
Okay.
So this is for setting the fiscal year 26. Go ahead. Fiscal year 26, non-union, non-elected salaries.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, 2.5% across the board for everybody who has not been included. Courtney?
again,
This is the line staff, right?
Anderson,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Johnson,
Larry.
Yes.
Yes.
Mo,
McCray.
yes.
Motion carries, sorry, you're a total blank.
Jeez, we're getting too big of ourselves
So
there.
now we can move down to fiscal year 26 nonprofit funding discussion with decision. Nathan, you're all alone now.
Where'd they all go, Nathan?
You're all alone.
No.
You gonna do each one individually or
I
just?
think we have to, and we need to
Think so
find which,
too.
Okay.
which funds are coming out of, so. We'll just go down Courtney's spreadsheet. Does everybody have a copy of it? County Public Health. Is that, first one?
75?
Wait, is that public health, that 13,000? Where does that go to actually?
It's not public health.
Wait.
Public health is now a county department.
Huh?
It's not, we don't fund it.
Okay.
It's its own department now.
Okay, so why is it? So why is that on here? That's what was confusing me.
Because it's under the new opportunities.
This one here, right?
Yeah.
This Sarah? We're talking at top on the line?
Yeah, it says county department. The next line is new opportunities.
Oh, okay.
But county
okay,
public
okay,
health-
Okay, sorry, I got bifocals and
That's all right.
Oh,
Yeah.
SARH.
Yeah, that
Jesus.
Sarah should be deleted.
delete that,
That's
god
it.
dang, I was,
Can
by the time
delete
I
it.
get clear across that page, that line moves.
Scott wants that deleted, please.
So these are coming out of general basics. The first one, new opportunities. The request is the same as the past several years, $13,000. Again, these are the general basics, so these are levied dollars. Oh,
Big sheet.
and how would the board like to do these? Motion by motion, or if there's a consensus, keep moving.
Consensus, keep moving. That sounds
Yeah.
good. advice.
So 13,000 was the request. Is there agreement that we continue with the
Yes.
13,000 level
Yep,
fund?
yes.
Okay. New opportunities, substance
Yes.
abuse treatment, same as last year, $7,085 consensus.
Yes.
Yes.
New opportunities, substance abuse prevention, 11,935.
Yes.
Yes.
Region 12 transit funding, $12,248.40 and $1,250.
Yes.
Yep.
Region 12 local housing trust fund, $10,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Region 12 membership fees or dues, $19,929.60.
Yes.
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 Region 12 revolving loan fund,
There's no request
Nothing.
there.
okay?
RSV.
RSVP, there is no more foster grandparents, so the request is only 9,000.
Yes.
Consensus?
Yep.
Elder Bridge, 6,000. Up from their,
No, 18,
Yeah, 6,000 up. Or excuse me.
18,000.
I'm sorry, 18,400.
See, I'm not the only one that's got trouble.
Yep.
with lines.
I'm okay with that.
Family Crisis Center, 6,000. Last year, we gave them 5,400 because they requested 8,000. Do we give them this level funding from last year, or do we need to discuss?
You're only talking $600 difference, I would just.
What's the percentage of that?
I think we knocked off 2.5% last year. Or no, it would be
No, 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 no.
10%,
We
10%.
took 10%
Yeah,
off last year.
10%.
I think if anything, level funding. That's my opinion.
5,400.
Okay. Agreed, everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
CASA, Centers Against Abuse. They requested, they requested 6,000. Last year, we gave them 1,000. This year, they're requesting 5,000.
I would like to keep that at 1,000, is my opinion.
Okay, I think
Keep
they
it at
did,
1,000?
they did open an office in Carroll.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
think
they did.
so.
Yeah, they did.
Keep it at 1,000?
I'm okay with that.
No, I'm just asking.
That's what you mentioned.
They did open an office here.
You did request that they opened an office here.
I did request that.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, I mean, didn't you mention it last year?
I could go to 2. What's your thoughts?
I'd go 2 or 3, 2, probably more.
I think they are a huge asset, but it's a matter of should it be taxpayer money or not?
Yes, that's the thing.
Well, then you'd have to question a lot of this on the sheet.
Exactly. No, I'm okay with $2,000. I mean, they gave us the numbers of how many calls they get.
Yeah,
and
I'm in
they're-
favor of 2,000. Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, that's
Carroll County Fair, same as last year, 13,500.
Yes.
That's good, yes. They do a good job.
Historical Society, 4,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Community of Concern. Last year, we gave them 2610. This year they want 3150.
500 more.
Level, what is it?
They were at 2910 forever.
Let's just leave it level funding.
2610.
Yeah.
2610.
Yes.
Daycare's moved. Okay, this one comes out of rural services, so different funding source, soil and water conservation. Last year we gave them 4,500. They asked for 6,000 last year and they're same ask this year.
I would go at 4,500 because I find a lot of counties do not support that.
Let's do 4,500.
Libraries is another one that is out of the rural fund. Just heard the presentation from Carroll Library. Last year they asked 46,355. We gave them 40. This year they're asking 44,148.
And all the other ones stayed the same.
I guess, and my concern again last year was the amount they service the rural residents. That's kind of why last year I had said lower the amount that we gave. Just because of that percentage, it was a pretty low percentage.
16%.
Yeah.
I believe she said. And this comes out of rural. This is for people who live in the unincorporated areas that don't pay city taxes in Manning, Glidden.
And I do need to clarify from Mark too, that there is a percentage that's required by state that we pay to libraries,
There is.
correct? Courtney? I think it's for libraries.
Yeah, but we've
and-
never been able to establish what number you use to come up with that.
It's per capita and it's a dollar amount, but I don't know what it is.
And
Yeah.
same with this county fair.
So recommendations on the Carroll Public Library first.
Maybe knock it down 2,042, 148. That's a $2,000 increase.
Well, I think that's why I think the other ones didn't raise theirs because they're trying to make back up for what Carroll got. cut last year.
Last year they requested 4,600, we gave 40,000, 46,000.
You think?
So you're saying 42?
Our population hasn't increased, so level funding wouldn't be a bad thing
I'm gonna stick with level funding.
Level funding?
for all four libraries.
Still at level funding, yes.
Okay.
All right, now moving on to local option sales tax. Highway 30 Coalition, I don't believe we pay any dues.
Done with the
Is that
next.
Well, the dues is in something else.
Merchants Park, I believe we have paid off our two $25,000 installments. Manning Trail, the connector trail we call it, is completed. Riverside Trail, we have not paid anything on that yet.
They want some money.
We have not
And
asked though, have they?
I know they did.
Yeah, they
ask.
did when they came in. Yeah, they.
I mean, do we have to put that up
If
right
they
away
could-
or do we wait till?
It's in the
75,000.
25 budget.
It's in the 25 budget.
They just have,
Okay.
they didn't get matching grants and it's not done yet, or they haven't
Yes.
completed it.
They're gonna do it more reasonable way, right?
There was a.
They're gonna try to.
Asphalted.
Asphalt, yeah.
But Courtney, do we need to do anything? Beans, we've already approved that.
No, it's in the
Okay, thank you.
budget to pay it. If they don't get the money or whatever, or ask for it, it's gone and they're gonna have to come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we have to do with that one.
Arcadia Share the Road project, they asked for $3,500. That's the trail that's gonna run alongside
And these are all subject to
them getting the grant.
getting their additional.
They want to use the county dollars to be able to leverage more grants, to say that, hey, the county and the city have both pitched in.
I'm okay with that one.
I'm on board for Arcadia Share the Road.
Carroll
But that's
County,
3,500, right?
Yes.
For
Yes.
now, yep.
Carroll County Growth Partnership was an increase of 3% to 84,460 over last year. Last year they requested 87.4, we reduced it to 82.4. This year they are at 84,460.
I think this year with all that they've done up there with the hub and all that, they've kind of proved their net worth, I think.
One yes,
I'm okay with it.
I'm on board.
82, or, I'm sorry, 84, 460 it is. Rita Daycare, last year they asked for 6,000, we gave them 5, this year they're asking for 6.
Keep it level again myself,
Say what, Mark?
level. I would,
So keep it at 5,000.
What do you think?
Okay with that? Carroll Daycare, last year they requested 11,000, we gave them 2, this year they're requesting 5,000. Mark, you're on that board. Not trying to put the heat on you.
no, you do a lot of great things.
This is coming out of local option sales tax. So the theory, the reason we give to them is people can't move to town, and go to work if they can't find daycare.
No, I'm okay with that. Maybe we should bring it back at 6,000 where it was.
I was gonna say, I would rather.
Yeah,
go-
let's move Brita.
I'd rather go 6, 5, and 6 is what my,
6, 5 and,
but
Manning 6.
that's what I would like to do, but it's up.
Well,
Yeah,
Manning-
I think keep
What
it
did
6,
Manning,
5.
they requested 7 from us and they got 7 last year.
No, they requested 15, they got 7.
Yeah, last year they got, yeah.
And this year.
Oh,
they're
she didn't know
requesting
what she
7.
was requesting this year.
No, she didn't. Did you ever get, I wasn't at the last meeting.
missed
Did you ever
that
get that numbers
They
back?
got
Who was in
finance.
charge of that meeting? They should know. Oh, wait, I was gone.
So I gave you guys, she sent me some information.
She did.
She sent
Um,
the financials and you know, I
okay.
looked at those financials. They're not hurting right now, but if you look at the profit statement, they're struggling. I mean, they had some reserves to back them up, but
I would like to go 6, 5, 6,
6, 5, 6.
but that's up to you guys.
I'm on board.
I mean, good.
Okay,
6, 5, 6.
okay.
And then the last one is a new request for Heritage Park, and Courtney did do enough digging and she did find where they had a capital campaign and
they paid off the loan and
Yeah.
that's what we've contributed to.
and their ask is 75,000, and it's kind of, it wasn't necessarily specific. I just highlighted that it was to restore the barn and surrounding buildings will allow for additional venue offerings, and it's for their vision, to achieve the vision for the park. So it wasn't a playground, it wasn't anything specific, but I'm open to any comments anybody has. And again,
Didn't they say when they asked for that, we could give it in installments like 25 a year or something like that? I'm not for 75 all at once. That's a lot of money.
No, and I don't know that I want to go totally 75,000 either.
yeah, it's an ask and they know
And
it's an ask.
While I wasn't sleeping and thinking, I had 20,000 for 2 years in a row.
Can we, okay, can we commit to 2 years in a row?
We have done that in the past.
Okay. It is a draw. They
Yes,
do
it
put on
is.
a lot of stuff. I did go to their 25-year open house. They do the car shows. You do get a lot of Windstar buses with people from other countries stopping there. I think it's a good thing
Good
to
for
support
tourism.
economic development. Somebody suggested 20,000.
I did
Gene
20
did.
for 2 years. 20,000 a year.
We need some more input.
I'm fine. We support a lot of other local projects, like we did the Merchants Park. We do a
And
lot
the
of trails.
trails.
Mhm.
But
And
what number were you thinking?
20,000 this year and 20,000 next year.
I'm okay with that.
And I did have a conversation with her. I said, you know, these type of things, we don't want these to be an annual deal.
No.
And
One time.
I'm gonna tell you this, I think Manning has done some great things down there. And they have had their foot in the trough a lot. But that's beside the point. They're getting stuff done.
I agree.
But
They don't ask us for Main Street Manning. There's a lot of things.
they
don't.
do, yeah, they have.
Okay, but right now, they're not. This would be our only gift to the southwest corner of
I
the
think it's a
county.
great idea because it does bring a lot of tourism in.
Courtney, did you capture all that?
Yeah.
And nobody so
So
far,
that was agreed at 20,000 for
20,000.
2 years.
so nobody has a black eye so far. So now, item number 5, which is item number 6, set public hearing for,
I think we need I think we need to have I'll make a motion that we approve this list as presented.
we have a motion and a second to approve the nonprofits and charitable. And we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well, yeah. Yeah, we'll roll call. Aye.
All right,
That public hearing for fiscal year 26 proposed. This would be a max levy rate, correct, Courtney?
Proposed tax levy. meaning?
Okay. And you had a date picked between your 10s and 10-day too
I
early?
did, March 24th, 9 AM.
March 24th at 9 AM.
Yeah, we need to have the, everything loaded on the state site by the 5th of March and the file sent to the company so they can mail out those notices to taxpayers. So we kind of have to, that's kind of why I put it for today. This will give me an opportunity to get all the numbers plugged in, make sure they're all correct, and then we're ready to go.
So
I just
that-
need to know from you guys what kind of lost contribution you want to put in there, because that'll.
So in the last couple of years, we've done 20, or I'm sorry, we've done 300,000. And this year, I think, did you give everybody that spreadsheet of what it would add to it, Courtney?
I hope so.
Hope so.
So it's gonna be kind of hard to tell from my spreadsheet because we were using salary options and we went all over the board.
Yep.
But you can see that with the contribution, it significantly lowers the levy.
I think we definitely need to go 300,000. It's a matter, do we want to do?
I think we could do it 300,000 is adequate.
And so our levy rate will probably, even with the increases in salary, will still be less than. and our
Yeah.
total dollar ask will still be less.
Because I had option 2, which I believe was the most expensive of all the salary options that people were asking. And putting 300 still lowered both the rural and the urban levy.
Because I have last year, our total tax request was $10,728,826. And this year it might be 10,725 is the number that you were given.
10 million.
So it'd still be, so our total ask would be less and the levy would be less also.
So how soon do you need to put that figure in now then? So can you do that and then Monday present us what that would look like? Would that be adequate then?
With 300,000 and 400,000.
Yeah, yeah, I can do that. Hopefully I
We
can,
don't-
I mean, there's a lot of changes I need to make. So hopefully I have time to the day's almost over. Tomorrow I'll be working on Monday's meeting, but hopefully I'll have time tomorrow to get everything put in there. But yes,
It's only 130.
I hope we have time tomorrow for today.
yeah, but there's,
Mike, there was a dollar value put in there, worst case scenario. for
Okay.
ambulance already.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that
Yep.
that was,
yeah, there.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. And then we can get corrected sheets here and we know, look at it Monday and say this is good enough. And then once we decide that, we're pretty well done with the budget, right?
What we're transferring from the local option.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That
would-
and the ambulance
Union.
We should
Yeah.
be able to plug both those in.
Well,
Not
Monday.
before Monday's meeting, but again, we figured a worst case scenario on the dollar amount. We can always go lower.
Yeah, I would like for you guys to at least set the hearing. Obviously, that's just setting the hearing. That gives me a date and time. that I
And
can
this
punch
is
in.
the fictitious hearing, right? This is not the total,
Hearing you that you can go
the max.
below, you can't go.
That's the max
above.
where we want to be at.
So,
Yep.
yeah,
So what date would you like that to be?
March 24th at 9 AM.
So I can't so move.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for 9 AM on March 24th to set the proposed tax levy. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. No committee